Welcome back, everybody, to day two of the Weissenhaus Freestyle Grand Slam, the inaugural edition. I am Christian Kirilla alongside Maria Emelianova, and we will take you through the next and final four games of stage number one. Maria, good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon for some of us.
Morning for me.
Well, at least you have the rest of the day in front of you.
Yes, yes, I do. Yes, I do. How are you
Well,
feeling today, Maria? Ready?
I'm great. I'm great. Hope everyone is doing well too and got their morning coffee. I have even my own, looks like me, right?
Beautiful. Beautiful. It looks great.
My own mug, yeah.
And
Do you have a big mug as well today?
no, no, no. I did exactly the same thing. I have my C Squad mug, as you can see.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers, cheers. I'm going to sip through that. And as we can see, we see the players. By the way, a bit of a mix-up of the
Yeah,
players right
large
now.
group. Are they just
That's
all together? But
that's Magnus, that's Fabi, that's Fedosev, Sindarov, and Vincent Keimer. No, they usually pair up
so everyone who plays
based on
white.
colors.
There are 10 players, so these are just all players who play with white pieces.
I guess so. I guess
Wow.
so.
I
Yeah,
think it's the
yeah.
first time I see 5 players collaborating like this.
Well, it's the first time I'm seeing Magnus and Fabi collaborating together because they're usually on different colors. But I guess
Hmm.
somebody has changed colors.
I guess so, because
Um,
they are like number one and number two, right? So they usually
mm-hmm,
alternate.
mm-hmm,
That's true.
mm-hmm.
Huh, that's
But they're
funny.
they're looking at the position from different sides. So yeah, it's very interesting because I feel like this is also a large part of what's important, looking at the position from the right side. Because if you play black, especially, with not seeing this position ever in your life before, and if you're looking and analyzing from the white side, but you're playing black, you're going to have some difficulties adjusting whenever you
Yeah,
start
but
playing.
maybe they are kind of playing a devil's advocate there. Like some of them are trying to debunk the moves, and
Hmm.
this way they come to some conclusion what actually works.
Yep.
But it's also still training, right? Like it's the first game of the day. Their brains are still probably in bed. So in the god's villa.
I think
So
Magnus is
they
definitely
try
well.
to start the flowing of blood in the brain and actually like calculating variance, seeing maybe when you are on the black side, like Fabi, he can see what weaknesses are in his position.
Fedosev is just quiet. He's just assimilating everything. Look at him. He's not saying a word. Fedosev and
Yeah,
Sindarov are just
he
like,
usually gives me this vibes of the thinker.
he's watching.
Yeah,
He's
he
just
like
simply
whenever he
watching.
is like playing, he just sits like that with his coffee and just looks somewhere for like long amounts of time. Not like not like Arjun who just stares somewhere and just like calculates without moving any muscle in his body. No,
Yeah.
Fedosеев is just like this really philosophical look in his. I really like to take photos of him because he
Hmm.
never sees
Hmm.
me.
It's
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 great.
pretty cool, by the way. The whole setting is very cool because everybody there, the
Hmm.
organizers, the commentators, the fans, I don't know exactly who is there. I guess it's closed for like regular people outside the
Yeah,
test,
it's
but
all either media or people working for event or
they're all watching.
organizers and their
They're
close
very
friends.
close to the players and they're
Hmm.
watching their analysis. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, and the setting is really cozy. Like you have all this. I see they even improved a lot of things.
Hmm.
Like got the extra like lights. It looks like a library where you just can take a glass of whiskey and just sit there with a cigar.
You mean
It just gives
apple
really
juice? Apple juice.
apple
Apple
juice. Yeah,
juice.
true. The family-friendly channel. What are you talking about,
Or-
Maria? Stick to your coffee.
the apple juice. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but you can see like the room and then the light goes off. So like also this the studio is always operating like they lit up so that the players feel invited and then they like when the club is closing, all the lights
Hmm.
goes off go
Hmm.
or on actually sometimes on giving you indication it's time to go guys, time to go.
Yeah, yeah, and there you have it, Hikaru getting ready for his matchup against Sindarov, who is one of the co-leaders going into
Yeah,
day two,
taking on a leader.
alongside Fabiano Caruana. They had an absolutely amazing game, an amazing day yesterday. Four
Mm-hmm.
and a half out of five. That's just unheard of. And most likely, even mathematically, I think these two players are very close to just qualified right now in the top eight. Hikaru still
Correct.
1 point ahead of those unpleasant spots, the ninth and the 10th spot. But he needs to be a bit careful.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to see how he's going to handle today's
But at
rounds.
least he is not alone in the company of other world champions.
He's
It's
not
actually really funny. We have three world champions, all on the same amount of points.
2 points, four
Close.
players. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, alongside one more. Yeah, but it's still four full games to go. See, the games are starting. Oh, it's nice. All of the play. Yeah, okay, so they all came to the same conclusion. C4 is the best move.
everybody played C4. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, again, it makes the most sense. It's either C4 or F4. I think they just simply do not want to commit to weakening the king side.
yeah. But the
If you
second
go
move is
F4, you open the
different.
position for the king as well. C4 and then F6. Okay, I was just saying that maybe it's not a good idea to weaken the king side, but I guess
Mm-hmm.
Hikaru has a different look on this
Well,
position.
Hikaru
Maybe he
actually
wants to go
played
this
the
way.
same move, but mirrored as Magnus. So Magnus with white also played f3.
He started with F3.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I can see that like all the five players who were analyzing together all started with c4, but the second move is different than all the boards.
Yeah, C4, F6, and already Sindarov is thinking. So perhaps they did not expect this move. An immediate hit on the pawn on C4, but obviously that's protected for the moment
Hmm.
by the rook. And how would you continue in this one? How would you develop your pieces, Maria?
With white, well, actually, I really like the move f3 personally.
You do. Okay.
Not only you open the bishop, but also one of your knights potentially can go to f2, making your king's safety really good. Like
Right.
knight is not like knight is usually landing on c3 or f3, and it's really hard to bring it to f2. But whenever I had it on f2, I actually felt like it's the best defense for the king.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. I would be thinking about that at some point. I do have to do it because I
Hmm.
need to open up my dark square bishop, right? I would probably do it via f3, but put the knight on g3. Put the knight
Hmm.
on g3, maybe the bishop on f2,
Hmm.
get this knight on c3 on its usual spot, and then castle.
Hmm.
That's if I want to castle short. And it does seem like, especially after I play the move c4, I'm probably going to commit to castling short.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. The knight from g3 also can be going to e4, and given that the pawn on c4 is preventing d5, the knight on e4 looks really, really good, also protected by the pawn on f3. And then the
Yes.
bishop can potentially also reroute from f2 to g3. It's a very flexible position, which
I like it. I like it, and I'm drawing a lot of arrows, Maria. So keep talking, keep telling me all these ideas. I'm drawing as many arrows as I can.
and then of course the second knight has a lot of options. We can
Yes,
first move e4, or we can
yes.
put the knight on e3, or we can put the knight on c3. In a lot of freestyle chess positions, it just feels really awkward with all
But
of the pieces not knowing, like they're all in each other's way. But here it's super flexible.
B4, Maria. I mean, I did not expect this move. I have to say, I was looking at ideas of trying to open up this queen, but especially after playing the move F6, I did not even consider this move B4
Mm-hmm.
because the queen is biting on granite right now on
Mm-hmm.
f6. And generally, what I
Exactly.
would be doing, I would be thinking about creating some sort of a battery on this b1 h7 diagonal first.
Mm-hmm.
So bishop d3 and then queen to b1, and then looking at this h7 pawn in anticipation of you castling. Now, he's
No,
already
absolutely.
playing b4.
No,
Um, yeah,
it's quite logical in yeah, Fisher random positions to try to give air to all of your pieces,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
that like you can attack the pawns or bring the queen out. But here the queen is not going out anytime soon, so it feels like a bit of a waste of a move.
Yeah,
Because well, regardless of how your pieces are starting, you still need to prioritize development unless you have an immediate tactical threat to your opponent, which is hard to tackle. Like, for example, when the pawn on f7 is not possible to defend, like any, like there are some very rare positions where you cannot defend f7 in one move. So
right.
if the knight jumps uh c3 b5, or yeah, f3 g5, like it's, you just cannot find a quick solution.
Yeah.
Then quick moves like that make sense, but here I don't see how the queen is threatening. If there was g6 instead of f6, then of course it would make a lot of sense.
And you see, we were looking at these ideas of opening up the bishops, right? It makes a lot of sense. By the way, the bishops are on the usual spots of the knights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at various options, but almost in none of our variations did we consider getting it out via the side like this, like Hikaru did with bishop to
Mm-hmm.
a7. So a5, b5, bishop to a7. What I do like is that Hikaru is keeping an edge on the clock. Again, keep an eye on that. This is stage one, so we're having rapid play. We don't have classical yet. So the players are playing 10 minutes plus 10 seconds increment. If anybody's new to the channel, if anybody's new and just caught up with the show, we have stage one rapid chess, freestyle chess.
Yeah, and engine has a lot of
Engine doesn't like it.
yeah, a lot of orange for the players.
Engine doesn't like it, but look, this is natural. Now, bishop
Feels
a7
completely natural.
coupled with e5, he's obviously hinting at potentially placing a bishop on d4, hitting the queen, maybe even after knight to c3, choosing to give away
Mm-hmm.
that bishop. Also, what I think specifically he wants to do with the bishop on a7 is sort of make it difficult for white to develop his own bishop.
He
Like
is
f3,
forcing
for example, I
e3.
would just exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, e3, and now obviously this bishop is not looking amazing,
Yeah,
right?
because there was already direct threat with knight f4.
Yes, yes, and this is to your point. I think you're making this point of being having some spots that are difficult to cover. For example, if you go d3 and then I go
Mm-hmm.
knight f4, how exactly do you defend the pawn on
Yeah.
g2?
Yeah, usually you at least can spoil your castle and move the rook to g1 if the bishop is not on f1, but here it's just a really awkward position.
Yes, yes. But none of that will happen. He did play the move e3, makes a lot of sense, closing both the knight and the bishop, right?
Yeah.
Taking away a
But
lot of
then
important
he took
squares.
away a spot from both the bishop and the knight.
Yes. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this knight, I'm pretty sure is going to go to c3. It just simply makes the most sense to be on c3. You also have ideas of placing it on d5. So this is what I would be looking at if I was Sindarov. I know where I'm castling. I'm not castling on this side. I mean, I pushed too many pawns, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I'm castling
But
queen side.
Hikaru actually has a choice of both ways castling
For the
still.
moment, yes. Yes. For the
Mm-hmm.
moment, yes. It is kind of an awkward position, though. So how do you get the queen out is my question. And I've been trying to figure things out. If you
Yeah,
put
you
the bishop
really
on c5,
should not think about c6. That could be disastrous.
c6, yeah, that would. I mean, look at this queen. Sure,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to go to a6, but the bishop is completely stuck. The queen is kind of
Yeah,
stuck.
and then d4 c5
It's
is,
looking bad.
yeah.
I don't like this one. I don't
So
like this one.
definitely not c6. I don't know actually, but maybe just bishop c5 or bishop b6 and then queen a7. It's a bit awkward, but so is white's development.
Yeah,
Like,
bishop c5. He heard you. No,
I
this
don't know
makes a
if
lot of
it's a good
sense.
thing, but
I like it, and to be honest, it makes the most sense to me from a logical perspective.
Bear in
again.
my chat, my games, the post game analysis has never given me more than 1100 rating in post game analysis.
In
Usually it's
freestyle.
like 600, 800, even if I won the game.
Hmm.
At least I'm safe from any accusations.
You're, yeah, you're not on anybody's radar.
No.
Bishop c5, b6. I'm expecting. Follow it up with that one. Open up the queen and also hit the pawn on g2. If you do decide to go with a queen, creating this battery on this diagonal,
Hmm.
I just simply, I mean, you're not really doing anything on this diagonal, right? It's such a dead diagonal.
No, but it's kind of flexible.
I,
Um,
I, I guess so, but how do you
the
get
other
that
option
queen
is
out?
a4 forcing a3, I suppose. Will white be fine with us pushing the pawn all the way?
Sorry, sorry to interrupt, Maria.
Oh,
Can I take that?
probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. G6 and
There's no way. I
knight.
guess, I mean, you could be able to
I
take
mean,
this.
it's very difficult to get to that bishop.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Well, here
maybe you
maybe
could be getting to
f5.
that one.
Oh, you have
You're
to
not
move the
afraid of the
bishop.
check. I will probably take the bishop away.
Oh, yeah, also
Yeah,
good.
I don't think he's taking that. I don't think he's taking that. I'm going to call it right now. I
You
don't think he's
think?
taking
I
that.
think he's considering it.
He's definitely looking at it. You see, he's postured up, looking at that pawn right now. Laser eyes on that pawn. But I don't think he's going to take it. He
Do you
just
think
doesn't have
Hikaru
enough
is
time.
doing poker face? Well,
I
there is
don't
no
think he
way he
missed it.
blundered.
No way. No, 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 no. I don't think he missed it. I think he's just trying to muddy the waters. I
Mm,
think he understands maybe the position is not as great right now, given that the queen is not yet out, given
yeah.
that you're having some difficulties finishing development. But I think he wants him to take on h7. Hey, at least if you take on h7, I know that I'm playing for something. If I manage to trap that bishop, the game is over. So I think he's giving him that opportunity. And he's like, no, of course not. f3.
Yeah, I wonder if a4 is that bad. A4, a3.
If you go a4,
Maybe
I
it's just
might go
too
a3.
many tempos for that small poke
The
to win.
problem, the problem with this pawn is that give me one more move and he lose it
Mm.
with bishop c2. So you have to be a little bit careful. He played bishop g6. Okay.
On the other hand, if you do take it, I will be attacking a3 as well. No, it's yeah, it's just not worth it. You're right.
Yes. What I'm saying though, I would say the last few moves, I feel the tide is shifting. I feel Hikaru is slowly finishing his development and finding the right plan and the right place for the pieces. Castle.
He
There we
seems
go.
to know what he's doing.
Yes.
Sindarov started spending more and more time, like he was very confident in the first few moves, but now he is like he has to calculate every time, and maybe he's not super happy with his position.
It's still early. It's still early. He's just trying to find the easy moves right now, I feel. He's like, okay, where are my easy moves? I understand. I don't want to take any decisions right now
Mm-hmm.
because I've been spending too much time. 4 minutes 17 seconds against 5 minutes 30 for Hikaru. Hikaru has been speeding through this process of the opening phase. Sindarov, not so much. Rook to e8. There's only one problem piece in black's position right now. It's the queen on a8.
The queen,
I
yeah.
know the knight is going to go somewhere, either f7 or g6. I have a place for the knight. Knight on e6, already beautifully placed.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I put my queen, though? Where
Yeah.
do I put my queen?
And white probably will, well, all the pieces are kind of pointing in one direction, d4. That's
Mm.
probably his plan.
Yeah, maybe knight e4, maybe, yeah, that knight on e4, maybe the
All
other
dead.
knight on f5, and then d4 at the right moment.
But now also b6 seems natural to get that queen. At least d5 makes sense.
He's channeling your ideas.
We are channeling both. Maybe channel some bad moves for Sindarov.
No, this is a good move. This is a good move, b6. I like it. I like it.
I still like a4, a3 idea at some point. Now, especially without the light squared bishop, it will be
Yes,
super safe there.
yes, yes. I do agree with you. Right now, it feels much safer. Knight to f5. So he's doing some pony play, some horse play. Sindarov in the last few moves. He's trying to get his horses next to the black king, next to Hikaru's king. Do you think Hikaru is afraid of the horses?
Mm, I don't think so.
Probably not. Probably
Well,
not.
maybe he's looking into some sacks with bishop h4,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
bishop f6.
Bishop h4, bishop f6, or knight xg7. These are the type of ideas
But that's
that
why
he's
maybe
looking for.
Hikaru played knight f7, so he can play knight g5 to stop this.
I like it. Yes, yes, I think that's
He does
probably a
need
good
to bring
idea.
the queen closer, or at least prepare it.
What I think
d5.
Hikaru is dreaming about is to get a d5 in, get a
Mhm.
d5 in, force a reaction, and then potentially getting this rook on d8. Try to get to one of White's weakness. 2 minutes 30 for Sindarov. This is
Mhm.
really good news. Right now, Hikaru with twice the time that Sindarov has on the clock.
Yeah, this can turn very tactical very quickly. For example, if Hikaru played d5, trade queen d5, then bishop h4, bishop f6 is a real threat.
Yeah, yeah.
And then if knight g5, knight fg5, for example, then knight h6 does not really win anything, but annoying, nevertheless.
But we need to find a move for Sindarov right now.
Do we? No.
Actually,
Let's
we
leave
don't,
it like
I
this.
guess. Yes. Keep thinking.
Keep
Keep thinking.
thinking.
Yes. Keep
Over
thinking.
here,
He's.
you didn't
Oof.
wake up yet.
Whoa.
Oh, did he
Whoa.
move?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right.
D4. Okay.
I guess Sindarov is going for it. He's like, okay, I've had enough. Is he going to take? He's probably going to take, right? Even though taking.
No, I think he's fine with leaving it like that, moving the
Mm-hmm.
bishop away.
Mm-hmm.
And if black, well, white is not gonna take on e5, because then we get
Probably
the
not.
knight out.
Probably not. Yes. I do like this knight coming back to e5. I
Okay,
do
he
think we
took.
have a move. Yeah, he took a bit of a surprising decision to take. And then the bishop went to a3. Is that correct? Yes.
Mm-hmm. But he probably wants to bring d5 himself, although maybe d5 will be met. Yeah, I'm not sure.
So, for example, if you go rook e1, as you just said, d5 is probably his idea. d5, take,
You know
take.
what's
Finally,
the
the queen is out.
yeah, but the engine has other plans. I wonder if Sindarov also saw this. d5 for white.
I mean, these are ideas that definitely pass through their mind. But again, you have to make some very, very difficult decisions because, look, you're giving up material if you go d5. Like d5, I will take on c1. I can take on c1. Probably it's not good, but I can take on c1. You
Mm,
take, and then good luck calculating everything. Knight takes g7, then queen takes c1, and gauging whether you have enough compensation, right? I don't think he's going to go for
mm,
d5. Rook c d1, of course.
yeah, it was too. It's also very low time for Sindarov to engage in such activity right
Exactly,
now.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. So d5, good move, and queen to b3,
I guess he will move the bishop to f8,
and
best
then just
square.
give up the pawn. So take, take. What do you do now? You go knight
You wanted
f4
to take the knight.
after a4. A4 is
No, I meant if not bishop f8.
Ah, instead of bishop f8. Yeah, you can take the knight as well, I guess. But I don't know. I don't like
Yeah, I feel
leaving
like we
white with
need
this
this
strong
bishop
center.
more than that pawn. What I think is like it says temporary sacrifice on d5. Because white will have difficulties defending that pawn on d5.
Yes. Yes. Something like knight f4, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I go d6. Difficult position. Still not an easy position to calculate. I
No.
think I see a nice idea. So bishop f8, you take
Mm-hmm.
on d5. Now I
Mm-hmm.
started with a4. The idea being that the only place to keep contact with the pawn on d5
Mm-hmm.
is from c4. And then I can go knight f4.
Mm-hmm.
And after d6, I can take.
Ah, okay. So then you're taking with an
But
attack.
the engine is telling me that
The
I'm
engine is
an
screaming at
idiot
you.
because of knight h6. Okay.
Oh, it
The
did.
engine is being funny. Um, yeah,
Oh
nobody plays
yeah,
like
the knight
this.
on f7 is pinned, and if we take then knight f6,
What's the idea? I still don't see it. I
um,
guess you just take, and this is a better position. This is just a
yeah,
winning
the
position.
queen is not hanging anymore.
But I have two pieces. This is not
But
that
he
easy
takes
to.
the knight. He takes the knight.
What knight?
No, oh no, he doesn't. Sorry, I thought the king was on h7 for some reason.
No, he can go d5, and that opens
Mm-hmm.
things up. It's a wild position. It truly is a wild position. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why Hikaru is thinking for so long right now. It's a big critical moment right now.
Yeah, the time control, guys, is 10 plus 10. So as we saw, the time did go out very quickly, but at least they have 10 seconds per move increment.
Yeah, yeah, 10 seconds increment.
Yeah, and
And
Hikaru has some time to think, but he should not think for too long. But this might be their moment to spend time.
it certainly is. It certainly is. Okay, so let's try to figure out what we're missing. Bishop f8, take on d5,
Mm-hmm.
a4. Maybe after queen to c4, maybe I can just simply go knight d6. The same idea. You take on d6 with
Mm.
whichever knight you want, and then I take, and there's no way for you to defend this pawn on d5 anymore. Okay, we have moves. Bishop f8, cd5, a4. Maria, these guys are really good. Uh, Hikaru
Yeah,
actually
just
found the
they just
best
happen to
path.
be not bad.
Wow. Yeah, he found the best path. Wow. That's I look, I did not expect anybody in 2 minutes to find this. Whoa! No, he went for knight f4.
Immediately, yeah.
Oh no, he went
So
for
now
knight f4.
d6 is the best.
Okay,
He
but this
he
is a
probably will see it.
I'm not convinced. I'm
Knight,
actually
yeah,
not
knight
convinced.
h6 is a central
Knight
move. Yeah,
h6 is such a difficult move. Like this
yeah.
whole variation with knight h6, this is such a
And if
difficult
he
move.
doesn't play d6, then black might be getting better.
Yes. No, I look, as much as the engine is screaming that this is not the right move, d6 followed by knight to h6, that's some crazy stuff. You're not going to play that with 30 seconds on
Well,
the
you can
clock.
play d6 just because you think you're losing the pawn anyway.
Yes.
And then find knight h6 if your opponent is thinking and you just have that extra time. But he
Well,
has 20 seconds.
okay, d6 he started with. Now
Yeah.
it's a big moment. Is he going to take with the bishop or is he going to take with the pawn?
Well, bishop is better, right?
Bishop is better if you're
But pawn is
accepting the fact
tempting.
that knight h6 is just a bad move. It's
Oh,
just a bad position for you. Whoa,
he
whoa, whoa,
took on
whoa.
e4? Wow, we
What?
didn't even consider that move.
We did not know. So if you take right now,
Do you
then you
play
just take on
d7?
d6. Oh, your queen is almost trapped. This is such a
d7,
funny,
rook d8.
funny looking position.
It's amazing that Sindarov is finding this with 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I have to say. I think he missed d7. 93.
Now he takes on d7.
Take on d7, probably something like bishop to g3. Oh, bishop to g3, you just give
You
up
playing a knight.
the
Probably
knight.
rook e1.
Yeah, rook e1 seems to
I
be the
mean, it
better
is
move.
quite sharp still. Black has all these pieces that are suddenly out. The queen is finally free.
It's very
Hikaru is
sharp.
not happy.
No, he missed d7, I feel. I feel like he missed d7, but still, again, 29 seconds against a minute 50.
No, I
And the
think he
position
missed
is
something else.
not lost. Hikaru, keep 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 the fight on because it's not lost.
No, but I think he calculated until here, and he thought he has a check like some kind of mating attack. Because it is in this moment he was suddenly realizing something is not right.
Well, now he can just take. Queen c6 is giving him a lifeline right now. Take on c6 and take on d4. And then you take on d4, I go knight to e2. Knight to e2 check, king to
Mm-hmm.
h1, and then I pick up the rook
Yeah,
back.
yeah, I think this is great. He's losing d4, he just blundered.
I think he blundered. I think he
He can
blundered,
take on
or
c6 first, he can play knight e2 check first. In
yeah,
any
knight e2
order
or
is
rook
fine.
takes d4. Both of them I think work
Yeah.
just fine. So, but he needs to go for it. Now, psychologically, you might be thinking, okay, I'm down in exchange. And my one shot right now is to keep the queens on the board and try to go for some sort of an attack. But that's not the case.
Yeah,
You're
but the
down in
attack
exchange.
with the queen on c6,
The
he is
attack is
also
not going
attacking a
anywhere.
rook.
Yeah. Yeah.
You cannot, like, you will have to go with the queen back to, like, e7.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna work.
Okay. Now is the time. Queen takes c6. Good start.
He
No.
did not take?
No. Rook to d8. He didn't take on d4. No. Oh my goodness. Why? What did he miss? I'm wondering. Perhaps nothing. Perhaps he was just worried that exchanging the rooks might be a problem. King to h1. Wait, do you just go knight e2 again?
Yeah, you
Knight
can go to
e2
e2
and knight to c3.
and still take, right?
Good move. Knight to e2. Excellent move by
And
Hikaru.
now he doesn't have to trade the rooks. Or maybe he still have to. But at least he is threatening to take on c6 as well.
Yes. Excellent move. Okay, this is good.
This
One
is
of the
even better variation.
he's probably gonna go d5. No, rook to d2. Okay, now don't take on d4. If you take on d4, I think rook to d1 might be quite problematic.
Mm.
You're getting
Although you
pimped.
can play knight c6, right?
No. Oh, actually, you can. Wait, you're right. Right, Maria. You can
That
play knight
horsey on
c6.
f7.
I did not see that horsey. That's true. He did not play yet. He's still
He's
thinking. He
seeing
did take on
something.
d4.
Yeah, he's taking.
Yes.
So
I think Sindarov forgot about that knight on f7 also.
it's an unusual night, true.
It is. It is. It is.
Okay, but now we are back to the game.
Knight f5 is a really
Knight
nice
f5 is
move.
great move.
It's really nice because now you cannot defend the
Now
pawn on
Sindarov is
c6.
unhappy. He
Let's
just
see.
saw
Let's
it.
see if he finds it. This is
Yes,
a big moment right
he
now.
can find it. Knight f5.
Knight
Yes.
f5. Wow.
Yes. Okay, Hikaru is completely fine now.
He's fine. Yeah.
Brilliancy.
And he gets his
There
double
we
exclam.
go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He gets his double exclam. That was a miss by Sindarov. He knows it. He knows right now he's on the defensive end of this end game. And it's time for Hikaru to capitalize. Bishop to c5, cut the defense, and then take on c6. Take on c6, go knight to b4, and force white to find, with very low time on the clock, find defense. It's not going to be easy. If
Yeah, black
anybody,
is even
I'm not sure
Okay,
about.
cannot say better.
I'm not sure about knight d4 because rook to c4 might be a bit problematic right now.
He wants to take on g3.
I think he wants to go a3, but a3 knight a6
Ah,
is a
but
problem.
knight 92, white can just defend. No?
Yeah, no, a3 knight a6.
Hmm.
Knight f5.
But now g4.
Yeah, g4 and take on a4. Okay.
Well,
Knight
it's really
d4
hard to
was a
play
bit
with
of a.
such a low time on the clock. Oh, look, he's giving up g3. Sindarov is very generous today.
I look. I think with so few seconds on the clock, it's uh, it's hard to find the best moves all the time, but we have to
We might end
expect
up
them.
with a rook versus minor piece endgame.
One dream that Hikaru has right now is exchanging these two pawns. Let's exchange the b48 pawn,
Mm-hmm.
and you not have at any point the capability of creating a passed pawn. If he can
Yeah, we
get
know.
that, then he's safe. But Sindarov is trying to go to this b6 pawn. This is the idea. Okay, how do
Maybe
we
time
defend
to bring the
this?
king to the game.
Okay, and then rook a6, king f7, rook a6.
I see Fiona there.
Taking some.
Was just glancing at the mainstream broadcast.
Okay, 20 seconds. Knight to d4. Okay. I like this idea from a
And the engine
practical
keeps hating
perspective, I
on
think.
all the knight moves.
I'm just wondering what his plan is after knight to after rook a6. Rook a7, Sindarov says. Ah, he's trying to go behind this pawn. h5.
Rook b7. So he's losing that pawn. No?
a4, b5. b5. Now is the time. Now is the time.
But then check and a5?
At least you're creating a pass pawn of your own. At least you're
Hmm.
creating your own chances. Yeah, good move. Good move. This is a good move. Forget about the engine. From a practical perspective, this is a good move. I like this. You're forcing your opponent to think. Yeah, king f7 gets up.
Oh,
Oh,
he took!
beautiful. Beautiful.
He
Thank
took!
you. Thank you very much. I'll
He
take
chickened
that.
out and took. And
I'll
it's
take
just a
that.
draw. They just agreed.
Oh, that's great. That's
Nice.
great.
I think he was just so frustrated with his play. He didn't want to continue.
That's great. No, look, it's one of those moments when you know that you're probably better. But if you go a5, you're allowing me to get a pass pawn of my own. And this could turn badly for you as well. Like nobody
Mm.
knows. It's going to be a calculation, it's going to be a race. And yeah, with 30 seconds, I guess we can say that he chickened out in this one. b5 was a great move from
Mm-hmm.
a practical
Yeah,
perspective.
good find.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shall we
Let's
have a look at other games?
absolutely, absolutely. Let me see what else we
Looks
have.
like Fabi is doing really well.
Perfect. Let's move on to that. Fabi versus Gukesh. Rook g6, met by mate on f8, king e7. Where's the mate though? Okay, at least you have queen h7. Keep giving checks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Queen h7 only check. That makes sense. Because if Rook c7, then King attacks it with King d6.
Yes. Yes, queen h7, and he has to go king f6. If he goes king d6, that's a mate after queen c7, king d5, queen c5.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go king f6, that's when the big question arises. Because if you take the rook, I take your rook.
I guess Rook c7 threatens with a mate on f7.
Queen d3.
But Fabi also doesn't want to allow perpetuals.
That's probably a good practical choice. Good practical
Because yeah,
choice.
the rook on g8 is also like standing there waiting to jump in.
Fabi's on fire right now.
Mm-hmm.
Fabi's on absolute fire right now. He's on 4.5 and has the option of taking the lead in the tournament
Yeah,
if he wins this.
and if Gukesh loses, he will move to sixth place, and Hikaru will be even safer than at the start of the day.
Yes.
Also, it looks
Yes.
like Livon and Fidesev are both losing again.
Queen to d8. Where's the mate? King to f5. Queen to f8 seems to be very powerful right now. Rook to c5 also a
Amazing.
good idea.
Well, I mean, it has to be checkmate somehow with those two pawns.
You would think
Next
so,
is
right?
Queen G5 or
Yeah.
Rook G5.
I think you just want to exchange the rooks at this point. It's
But then Gukesh has a passed pawn.
but then maybe you can exchange the queens also. So I'm thinking about rook g5. I take, you take, and then I go queen g5. And then I might even consider going queen to g2, exchanging the queens and just running
But are
with
you
my
sure
h-pawn.
exchanging queens is a good idea? Like the king is now next to both of your pawns.
So I go rook g5, king h3, rook takes g3.
Yeah.
Yes, he
King
goes for it.
takes.
And then queen g5.
Ah, and then the king is behind pawns.
Yes.
Queen G5 and even Queen G2 and just give up the knight.
Yes, but what I think he's calculating is this. Queen g2, take, and king g4.
Uh-huh.
And I don't
But
think
then the
this is
knight is
winning anymore.
defending them.
But it
But
doesn't
then you're
matter.
stuck, right?
Yes, you're stuck. Okay, let's see. He played h5.
Uh-oh. Now
Double
Gukesh
question
has
mark.
checks. Yeah, it's huge question mark. But now where is he giving a check? That's important. Okay, Queen B1.
Probably you have to go king
Queen
d2,
B2.
queen b2, knight
If knight
c2.
C2, then
Knight
B3
c2, maybe b3. Yes, yes.
or Queen C3. And then king has to stay there, defending the horsey. So sharp.
Actually, queen c3 after knight c2. Knight c2, queen c3. And if you go to d1, then I go queen f3, queen takes h5. Yeah, this Gukesh might have survived.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat are saying I hate queen endgames. You're not alone. It's a completely different part of endgame practice. Like you really have to know the dynamics.
Yes. It's still not over.
No.
It's still not over because if white manages to keep this pawn alive, and you cannot go queen f5 right now. You would love to go queen f5 and exchange the queens.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, take the pawn on h5.
That's
But queen f5,
blunder.
I go queen d3. And you lose that. Let's see.
Gukesh actually won like this against Abbasov at the candidates.
Did he?
He also blundered this queen check in the endgame.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he jumped off the chair and was pacing in front of him.
You remember this because you were doing, you were taking
Yeah,
photos, right?
that's my professional deformation. I remember such things.
Moments, yes, moments.
Okay, but now it looks like maybe Gukesh found a draw.
Did he?
Queen A1
Yeah,
and
queen
then back to
a1, king
B2.
e2, queen e5.
And
Yes.
that's already almost a repeat. Isn't it a repetition already? Okay, queen was on B1, but now on A1. But once the king
Yes.
goes to D2, queen B2, it's a second time repeating position.
Yes. Yeah, this one seems like he probably has found queen c3 also just works. Yeah, I think this is just simply going to be a draw now.
Yeah.
Here we have it. And I
Yeah,
do believe
draw.
there's still perhaps one more game going. No. Fedosev seems to have lost against Ali Reza.
Mm-hmm.
Ali Reza keeps moving.
Magnus won against Noderbeck.
And let's see, Magnus. Magnus won against Nodirbek, yes. Magnus did win against Nodirbek.
Magnus still refuses to make any draws.
Quite interesting, right?
Yeah.
quite interesting. Let's take a look at the standings. Sindarov and Fabi on 5 points. And then we have Alireza on 4.5, very closely behind. Magnus and Vincent Keimer, who advance upwards, 3 points apiece. Then we have Nodirbek Hikaru on 2.5,
Also Gukesh.
as well as Gukesh.
Hmm.
Yes, update standings. And of course, Fedosev and Levon. Unfortunately for them, they're
Looking
falling
really bad for them,
behind right
right?
now. It's not looking great. They have to catch up with players that are on 2.5 points. That's 1.5 points difference going into the last three. This is not going to be easy. They are in emergency mode right now. They need to do something.
Yeah, so
Um,
for Hikaru as well as Gukesh and Noderbek, it's enough to score 1 point out of the next three, right? Or am I
probably,
jumping ahead?
probably,
Yeah.
probably, probably something along those lines. But yes, they seem to have improved their position. All of those players, Nodirbek, Gukesh, and Hikaru, have improved their position for the simple fact that Fedosev and Levon have lost.
Hmm.
So, with that being said, I think going into the final three, it's time for us to take a break, and we'll be back with more action in just a
Yeah,
few minutes.
let's go.
Welcome back, everybody, to round two of today's four rounds. We only have three left, and we have the position. The games are about to start, and we have a big clash. Fabiano with the black pieces is going to be meeting Hikaru. Wow, this is a big one. I'm going to be um, neutral, right now. So I'm going to let you hype it up, Maria.
All right, all right. I will take the lead this time. Well, let's look at the position first. I see the players are analyzing, but of course we unfortunately cannot hear them. I see that Alireza is being the active one, but with black pieces. So Hikaru decided to look at the board from the dark side of the moon. Yeah.
Yeah,
So he,
Ali Reza. Is this the first time that we're seeing Ali Reza analyze with people?
I think so. Well, we see it first time. Maybe he did analyze before, but it's also possible he prefers to analyze with certain players and they just didn't meet on colors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he just feels happier now than yesterday.
Well, at this point, with only three rounds to go, you sort of understand whether you're very close to making it
Hmm.
or not, right? The only two
Yeah.
players that are really struggling right now and are really having a hard time are Fedosev and Levon because they know they need I don't want to call it a miracle, but they need something big in the last three rounds. They need to win a lot of games in order to be
Yeah.
able to catch up with anybody on 2.5. So everybody else feels quite relaxed. Levon and Fedosev not so much.
Yeah, Alireza has no even practical chances to be out. He's 3.5 points ahead, comfortable with wait, this is not updated. Sorry.
He is no,
Mine
he's
was not
3 points
updated.
ahead. He's 3 points, actually 3.5. I think you're
Three
right.
and a half points, yeah, it's just it showed Fabi also no 4.5, which is wrong. Yeah, Alireza is on third place and he is definitely qualifying. All top three are guaranteed at this point.
But the top three, at the end of the day, they get to choose whoever they want to play in that
Yeah,
order. So
yeah.
seed number one is going to be able to choose first. Seed number
Yeah.
two is going to choose second, and obviously
Hmm.
seed number three is going to choose last. And seed number four might get very unlucky because seed number four might be getting, if Magnus is outside of those top four, nobody's going to choose Magnus. So seed
Yeah.
number four is probably going to play Magnus. You almost want to not be seed number four. You would rather be seed number 5 or 6 or 7, right?
Well,
Because
Magnus probably won't be chosen by anyone, even if he finished eighth. Let's be honest.
exactly. So whoever gets seed number four is going to get Magnus.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's
Well, I mean, I don't know. Are there like super easy opponents there?
No,
I
but
don't
nobody's going to
think
choose
so.
Magnus.
No.
I can tell you that much. Nobody in their right mind is going to choose Magnus in a classical match.
I mean, Neuterbeck can. I
He
don't
will
know.
not. No,
No, he will not.
no,
That
there's no
would
way.
be a really goated move, though.
It would be somewhat of a psychological play, and if it
Definitely will make it
works,
to Reddit.
if it works, then you're the boss. But I don't know.
It's
I don't know.
probably another 10 years before this will start happening. Oh, when Magnus is old and they're like, yeah, let's just take the washed up world champion.
Washed up work. That's a good one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody's washed up. Yeah. After a bad tournament, everybody gets washed up. All right, here we go. C4. Boom, boom. You see, everybody's opening up their bishops and their queen very, very swiftly. This seems to be an instinctive decision that all of these players are making after seeing
Gukesh actually
position for
played
the first time.
D4.
Gukesh played d4. Okay,
He
so
is the only one who chose a different move.
he did open his bishop, but he also opened his king at the same time. Maybe just saying, I will decide later whether I want to open
Or
up
it's
my queen
just a
like this.
habit from classical games.
And we have a Slav on the board. C4, C6, a chess 960 Slav.
That's a bit of a weird Slav. But yeah, be careful. You don't want to touch that knight on f8 yet, just yet, Fabi.
This one? Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you definitely don't want to you definitely don't want
Hikaru
to take
immediately
that.
strikes with a threat.
That's an X-ray right there. That's a nice little X-ray. What I think he's trying to do is perhaps after the move knight to g6, which seems to be very natural. Obviously, what I think you don't want to do is play the move g6.
No.
Like, do not defend like this, because if you play g6, obviously your knight on h8 is going to be very, very passive for a long time. Not only that, but I also can just start taking advantage of that diagonal. So don't go g6, defend that pawn on h7, but with a knight. So knight to
Mm-hmm.
g6 would be my main option. And
Yeah. Do
thus,
you think he might consider h4?
I think so. I think he might actually consider it. I don't think it's a good move after knight to g6, h4, but I think he might be considering that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alireza actually chose the same move, bishop c2.
Well, I mean, and Fabi says, you know what? If you really want that pawn, I'll give it to you. This is a sacrifice. This is a
Okay.
very, very clear sacrifice because you're not getting it back anytime soon. So take, and I guess king f8 is what he wants, and saying that I opened up my queen, my bishop. I'm getting a lead in the development, and your queen on h7 is still a bit off. Like I have a
So
clear
that's
threat.
the first official freestyle gambit.
Yep, I think you're right on that. Right on the money on that. This is a freestyle gambit. d5. Hikaru refuses the
I
gambit.
mean, well, he's not taking.
He did
Wow.
not take. No, no.
He trusts Fabi on that.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, to be honest, for good reason. I don't think you want to take on h7. I really don't. Taking on h7 is just simply too dangerous.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think I would have taken it, but that's me. That's why I'm not a grandmaster.
Look, I like pawns just as much as the next GM, but it would be difficult. It would be a difficult sell, just because of the activity of the bishops and that knight and the queen on h7 a bit passive. This is one of the things that I've noticed in 2019 when I was helping Fabi at in Oslo at the Chess 960 World Championship, is that one thing that you don't want to do, and we had one of these type of positions where you could take something on h7. That queen was very often having difficulties getting out. and the initiative was weighed was weighing a lot.
Hmm.
So um, I feel most of these players are very much aware of that.
Yeah, yeah, they of course obviously studied all the existing games in freestyle chess between top players. But I think Hikaru got what he wanted.
Yeah,
He forced
G6.
Fabi to play G6.
I don't think this was a good move. G6 at least I don't feel like this was something that Fabiano should have done. But what he's looking at is after knight G3, he's probably trying to go F5, knight F7, and play against both the bishop and the knight.
Hmm.
I think this is his plan.
Yeah, that makes sense, but still, the bishop on D8 kind of belongs on G7, but it takes two moves at least to get there.
Mm, mm.
But I guess since Fabi was fine with even not castling earlier, he does not care too much about the airy G7.
Mm. Okay, so we have a castle. Wait.
Ah, Engine really does not like anything here. Wait, does the knight have to go back to H1 if
Yeah,
F4? They both
yeah,
missed it,
yeah.
seems.
Maybe they missed it. Maybe they just underestimated it. But yes, F4 was a clear
F4
possibility,
was... Yeah, I actually
forcing the
had
knight to go
something like
back.
this in my game. It was... There was something on H1, so my opponent simply had to give up a knight.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think he just said, okay, the pawn on F4 maybe is just going to become a liability. I don't want that. Or maybe I just simply don't want to think about it right now or calculate it.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to go knight D7. But a missed opportunity, definitely. But it does seem like both of these players underestimated the move F4.
Well, Hikaru is taking care of that now.
Yes. F4. This knight is headed towards E5. And this knight, as well as the knight from F7, both of them are headed towards E4. It's a very, it looks like a very balanced position right now.
Hmm.
At least this is my read on it. I don't know if you've seen this, but I was watching a recent Magnus interview. I think it was on ChessBase India. And they were asking how he's training for Chess 960. And he said something very interesting. He said that he was looking at some charts, some opening charts and tables, basically how to react based on where the pieces are placed. And like he wasn't obviously preparing 960 positions, but he was looking at charts of where to put the pieces based on where the pieces are initially placed. So this was a very interesting thing because we were discussing off camera what does a second do, right? In chess
Hmm.
960, a second kind of is obsolete, right? But apparently there's ways to train it. There's ways to train it.
Yeah, I suppose with when you have a second, or if you have 2 seconds, you can memorize charts. You can like choose 1/3 of all the charts to memorize each one of you. Since you cannot use a computer, but you can use your memory.
Mhm,
So each second can remember certain positions, certain types of positions. And when that position is drawn, they can be like, oh, this is my side of memory.
mhm,
And they
mhm,
will like say, yeah, you're supposed to put pieces here, here, and here. I guess after some time, players will be able to uh, recollect it faster because it will become more automatic.
mhm, mhm.
But at the beginning, all I can think of is only placing each type of position in kind of like a basket of types.
Yes, yes, and that's exactly what Magnus was hinting at. Is sure he's not going to look at it with an engine. He's not going to actually know very specific moves, but he will have ideas of where to place his pieces. And I think that we're going to see much more of that in the classical portion. Okay, back to the game. So things have simplified a little bit. Bishop on c2, most likely going to hit that queen on b5, bishop on d2. It almost looks like a normal position, normal chess position.
Mm-hmm.
Almost. Not really there, but almost. Now, the problem piece that I'm seeing for Hikaru right now is the knight on g3. Like, I really don't like this knight. This knight seems to be, I don't want to say dominated, but it's not a good knight.
Yeah, it's a little bit displaced.
It does do one good job, and that is potentially guarding the e4 square. So if you put a knight on e4, I'm most likely going to take it with my knight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one good thing about it. The knight on e5, obviously a beautiful piece. And the knight on f7 most likely is going to stay there. I don't think you're going to focus towards bringing it to e4 because you don't want to leave the knight on e5 unattended. So it looks very balanced to me, Maria. What do you think? What's your read on this?
Yeah, it does seem balanced. I see why Fabiano is not in a rush to put the knight on e4, exactly as you said. Um, I guess, yeah, someone suggested in the chat that rook lift is possible. It is indeed possible. Any of the rooks actually can be developed this way.
Yeah, I think the rook on f1 makes the most sense, just because maybe you can double up on the a file and try to
Mm-hmm.
put some additional pressure on the a pawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rook
that pawn
f3
can
seems
potentially get weak.
absolutely, absolutely. No, it's a battle of, let's say, a battle of weaknesses, right, on the queen side. Very typical for after you play the move b5. Sure, black is going to have to deal with this pawn on a5 being weak. White is going to have to deal with the pawn on b2 being weak. So that's kind of the dance that we're seeing right now between the two players. Rook
Mm-hmm.
c1. Okay. Hikaru is
Well,
saying, you know what? I'm mostly focused on going bishop to d3 next move and then doing something on the c file, like potentially rook to c6, maybe even knight to c6 ideas. He's focusing on the c file.
yeah, actually, I think he's not bothered with that knight on g3. Of course, he can always consider to play knight f1 e3, taking the d5 pawn under control, and then if the knight e4 happens, he can even trade the bishops.
Yeah. No,
But now
absolutely.
this is a very concrete idea, and Fabi sort of needs to finish his development. Bishop on d8 is preventing rooks from cooperating.
You said it. You said it. Yeah, no, bishop to b6 seems to be like the best move right now. You see, sometimes chess is simple, or at least it looks simple from the sidelines. But yes, bishop to b6 makes a lot of sense. Just develop with tempo, and then start looking at potentially exchanging things on the c file, rook to c8,
How do you defend that pawn on d4? I don't want to play e3.
maybe e3. Yeah, e3. I don't know.
But e3 immediately removes the square from the
I think he's gonna
knight.
go e3, but then again, yeah,
I guess he has to. Although then the whole diagonal is area with you can never remove your heavy pieces from the first rank.
yeah, yeah. Bishop d1, maybe bishop e2 as an
Maybe.
idea potentially. I really don't like. I don't really like my bishop on d2
Hmm.
flanked by these pawns, right? I don't know. I would try to keep it open somehow. But Fabiano is thinking he hasn't found a clear idea yet. So he
So he's
goes for
bringing
this
a second
knight to
knight.
d6,
Uh-huh.
looking at ideas to get the knight on e4, maybe even the knight on
But now
c4.
maybe even bishop d3 and your idea with knight c6 is possible.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably a good start. That's probably a good start. Bishop to d3 is a good start. No, Fabi says, look, I'm going to leave your knight on e5 unattended, and I don't think you can do much with it. In the meantime, I'm going to try to focus on bringing one of my knights on e4. Let's see. We do have a move, e3, was played by Hikaru. And I think bishop to b6 right now is much more difficult to play because you're not hitting the pawn on d4 and I have time to go. Actually, I think bishop to b6 is just losing in one move to bishop to a4. Look at this trapped queen.
Oof,
You cannot move it anywhere. Oh my goodness. And
that's a good point. Queen is trapped.
so bishop b6, if bishop b6 is not possible, then you're sort of running out of moves. Knight to c4 is Fabiano's decision.
Mm, but can that pawn, like if we took on c4, I suppose black has to take with a pawn. That
Yes.
gives up
If
a
you take with a queen,
center.
I take on f5.
Yeah.
That's a discovery attack. So you're forced to take with a pawn.
Mm-hmm. But then black sort of gives up a center a little bit.
Yes, ideas of e4
Yeah.
arise in the position,
And the
definitely.
queen is still not super comfortable on b5, always gets hit by the bishop. And the pawn on c4 can get in trouble.
We have
I
this on
think
the board.
Hikaru
It's
is
on the
going
board.
for it.
Yep, it's on the board. No, what Fabi's saying is that, sure, my pawn structure right now is not as good, not as compact as yours. But with the pawn on c4, perhaps I have ideas of finally. Okay, that was not the move. That was definitely not the move. You see the double question mark, but that's just because the computer recorded the move bishop to b3 first.
Mm.
It was bishop to a4, queen to d5, and bishop back to d1. That's a crafty way of gaining some time, right? Because bishop f3 right now is a big threat. Big threat.
Yeah.
So you need to get off that diagonal with rook to b1, rook to b8.
Yeah, correct. Hmm. So what to do then? Yeah, okay. He's playing rook b8.
Bishop
I
f3.
guess still bishop f3 seems like a good move.
Yes. Bishop
Potentially
f3.
preparing e4.
Going for e4. I agree.
And a5 is still a weak pawn. The queen has to defend it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a tender spot right there. Queen to b5, maybe queen to a2. And that's probably the trade that we're going to see. Queen takes b2, and then you take on a5.
Mm.
And the question is, how is that position? Anyway, we have some moves. Bishop to f3. We're predicting way more moves in this game than we did in the last one. I think the position is just a bit simpler. It looks more like chess, right?
Yeah. Yeah, now it's 100% looking normal. I mean, the bishop on d8 is a little bit strange. Like in a normal chess game, it would have to go via g7, e5, c7, d8. That's the only thing that gives it away.
Yeah.
I thought about doing a little quiz on my stream at some point and show different positions and have my chat guess whether this was a normal game, chess game, or a 960 game,
hmm
just to train your brain a bit. So yeah, this probably is the only giveaway.
Yes. Did you do it?
No, not yet. I want
Not
to
yet.
collect a few interesting positions for that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes even endgame can give it away that it's 960.
hmm Yeah. Queen e6, a move that we did not really spot or anticipate, saying that, okay, I don't actually need to defend that pawn on a5 directly. I
Mm-hmm.
can indirectly defend it by
Mm,
attacking your own pawn on e3.
maybe king f2.
Are you
Although
really going to go there?
although the knight
No, no, no.
we will be
I
forced to
would
trade.
not go there. I don't know why. It just feels like it's a bit
Yeah, I guess we
off-centered.
have to trade the
I,
bishop then.
I would
That's
not
annoying.
go that route.
That's the problem with the pawn f4.
Yeah, you would love to have the pawn on f2.
Hmm.
That's for sure. Not only that, the pawn on e3 would be protected, but you would
Yeah.
also have a spot for the knight.
Well, king h1 is also a problem. We're still giving up a pawn, even if it's without check. And that pawn is better than the pawn on a5. It
Yes,
holds up entire central structure.
yes. The chat is saying Maggie is losing to Gucci, meaning Magnus is losing to Ali Reza. Um, that's a big result right
Not
there.
yet. Not yet.
You're watching the
Okay.
game, yeah?
The
You're
engine.
you're keeping an eye on it.
Actually, the exact same thing happened as with a four, except Magnus's knight has no moves.
Hmm.
I don't know if he blundered it or not, but he seems to be shocked with that move.
I'm sure we'll
I
catch
think
up
he
with that
just
at some
blundered the
point.
piece.
Yeah, we'll catch up with that game. But Hikaru is taking a long thing right now. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand why. Probably he's trying to figure things out of how to defend this pawn on e3. He understands the fact that bishop takes a5, not possible right
Yeah,
now.
no,
You
no,
need to
it's not
defend
an
it first.
option.
I guess knight f1 perhaps. Knight
Rook
f1,
to e1 is probably not ideal as well, right? Because then b2 is also getting hit.
yes, yes.
You cannot even play rook e2 because then c3 becomes a possibility.
Yeah, rook e1, rook e2, that's not going to be possible because of
Mm.
c3.
And even h3 does not stop the knight because they also have knight e4 if we play king f2. Like king f2 would be an ideal move, really. Has the pawn been
Yes,
on f3?
but not exactly. With a pawn on f3, it would be great. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, knight e4, knight g4 ideas are just simply too much. Rook to e1.
Yeah, that's probably the only move.
Okay. Rook to e1. Bishop to b7. Fabiano is trying to soften up the light squares. This is his idea. If you do exchange the light square bishops, then at least my knight is going to jump to g4.
Yeah.
I feel the players right now will try to get somewhat of a simplified position in the next few moves. Queen to c2. Like I feel Hikaru is already looking at ideas of how do I trade things? How do I trade weaknesses, right? b2 for c4, b2 for a5. How do I do that? That's why we see this move, queen to c2, looking at the weakness on c4.
Hmm. But white also has weaknesses. Even if we trade those pawns, e3 is a weakness.
Yes, yes. Again, it's all about this knight, right?
Hmm.
This is the problem piece right now.
Yeah.
This knight on
Yeah, the
g4,
knight on
on
f2
g3.
would be so much better.
Oof, not even comparable. Yeah. Bishop
And we
c7.
don't really have time. Do we actually have time to reroute it? I guess knight e4 immediately happens if we move the knight. But then we can take on a5.
Okay, why is he not taking right now?
That's
I
a
might be missing
question.
something.
Maybe,
What's
I think we're both missing. Maybe he doesn't want to allow the rook to come to b2.
is this so bad?
Rook
Like rook a2, and I
a2.
guess you go rook to b3 to try to swing the rook and go grab that pawn on e3. I don't know. It's a very strange pawn sacrifice, but
I think you
I
can
guess it
take.
works.
Fabi just tries to sacrifice his h-pawns all the game. He's like, take h7, please. No, no, take a5 now.
Yeah, his side pawns.
I think Hikaru is considering it, but he needs to consider quickly.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's a very good point. 50 seconds right now against 3 minutes. That's not. That's a challenging time difference. That is truly a challenging time difference.
It's actually quite funny. One more game where the knight on g3 got in trouble. Now Gukesh.
Yeah, that knight on g3
So
will be getting in
this is
trouble.
just a simple conclusion then. When the knight is on h1, don't put it on g3.
Rook to
Simple.
c1, knight to d5.
Noted.
Defend. Time to defend that pawn on e3 with knight f1. Give this knight on g3 a job. Give this knight on g3 a job. Which he did.
Hmm.
Good move. Good move.
Yeah, but it's also because Fabi moved his knight.
Right. No more knight e4.
Well, now bishop a5 is probably the next move that Hikaru will do.
Yes.
If Fabi is not defending it.
My
He
guess
can
is
play
Fabi is
rook
going to
a.
go for rook b8. At
Yeah,
least this is what feels like.
coactivity, yeah. He can
Right,
defend
right.
it as well, but seems more natural and
It's
logical
much
to
more
continue
natural to go rook
with
b8.
this.
Rook b8, queen takes c4, and then I guess you take on b2. Bishop takes a5. I think this is something that we're going to see. And I'm being wrong because he chooses to go rook to c8. Rook to c8, queen takes c4. Rook to c8 was a bit of a strange move, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, well,
why did he pin himself?
yeah, he pinned his own bishop.
Yeah, this
Is
was a
there
bit strange.
some move that we're missing? But I don't think so.
No,
It's the plan.
no.
Maybe knight b6 and then he can move the bishop.
Knight b6, definitely not.
But yeah, that's just no. Yeah, not
Definitely
right
not.
now.
We're going to lose the queen on e6.
I
No,
guess rook b.
I think he just missed it. I think he just didn't realize that this queen on c4 actually pins the bishop on c7. You're not ready to move it.
Everything is pinned.
Yeah, no, this game has changed a little bit right now.
Yeah,
Like,
it does feel like Fabi lost a thread a little bit.
yes, yes, that seems to be the case. That seems to be the case. Queen to c4. Rook to b8. Defending the rook on c8, and obviously looking at ideas of bishop takes f4. Queen to a2. That's probably a very good move. Keeping this pin alive and also defending the pawn on b2 at the same time. That's a great move. And with a big threat, by the way. I mean, look, I will take that pawn on a5 at some
Hmm.
point, especially since I have this pin going on right now. So you cannot touch the pawn on e3 with your knight. Um, yeah, queen a2 is a good move. Rook to b5, defending the pawn on a5. It's still not easy to make progress, right? Sure, you are a pawn up, but it does feel like you're sort of stuck. You need to give something to get something, and it doesn't seem like there is anything to give on the board right now. Rook to c5, rook to b8. But it is Hikaru that's pressing with an extra pawn.
Yeah, but at the moment I do like the pieces, how the pieces are located for Fabi. Like I feel like he finally found the nice combination. Like the knight on d5 is on outpost.
You can take a pawn right now. Knight takes f4. Not an
Oh
easy thing to
wow.
see, though. It is it is somewhat of a tactic. Knight
It
takes f4,
should be
queen
fairly easy
e6,
for them to see.
bishop to d6. He says no. But wait a minute.
Now
What is
we can
this?
take on a5, but then still knight f4, right?
Yeah, knight f4. Knight f4 is fine, but that's actually
It's possible they
a
don't see
pawn
it.
down endgame. That is just a pawn down
Yeah,
endgame.
he's going for it.
And bishop to c3.
Huh. Well, Hikaru is definitely in a good spot here.
No, it's play for two results. It's just simply play for two results. Maybe you're not going to win this one. Maybe black is still very close to equalizing, but black is never going to win this one. It's just play
No.
for two results.
And Hikaru speeds up because it's obviously much simpler now to play.
Yes.
King goes to f2. Now everything is defended. He can move the knight. Knight can go via a5, c6. He does not mind trading the bishop on c3 because then the pawn structure becomes even stronger.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't. Fabi's not going to take on c3. Taking on c3 would be. Wait, 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 wait. Can I take on h2?
I guess he will take on h7 then.
Rook h1, bishop d6 back, and then take on h7.
Yeah, activate the
And
rook. It's
start looking at the g6 pawn as well.
another option for white is to play g3, then king d3 and f4. Oh, sorry, e4 to prevent knight f4, just to be safe.
h5.
Uh,
Now there's
yeah,
a threat. You do want to take on h2.
yeah.
Hikaru says no. I'm going to defend that. I see that pawn.
And Fabi can keep pushing the pawns. He does have a majority on that side,
g5,
trying
g4. Yeah.
to create a passer. That's probably his only counterplay here.
Yeah. Yeah. And he goes for it. He does go for it. Again, extra pawn, but it's still very difficult to win this one. Nevertheless, with low time on the clock, there will be chances.
Mm-hmm.
There will be chances.
Yeah, in fact, right now for Hikaru there
Oh,
is
f
no.
takes. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, f takes is a big concession. F takes is very strange. It's a big concession.
Well, he is going for. Yeah, I guess here it's very concrete.
I mean, to be honest, e4 is a very tempting move.
Yeah, but now Hikaru is saying my bishop is better than your knight, because yeah, indeed e4 is coming, but he doesn't want Fabi to have a tempo in exchanging. He actually wants to hit that knight,
Yes,
forcing
and
it
you
to
can go
leave.
g3,
Yeah.
take away the f4 square, and then go for e4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one is looking like it's swinging
It does look
towards
very.
Hikaru's way. I mean, e4 is extremely difficult to parry.
Mm-hmm.
E4 followed by d5. The position just plays itself right now.
Yeah, yeah, and he also has 93 after hitting g4 pawn because h5 is pinned.
Yes.
Now this knight is the beauty of this board of this game.
I know, right? It went from g3, the worst
Such
piece in
an
the position,
upgrade, right? It was
and
just sitting there waiting for its moment.
the worst piece in the position, and finally
Oh, okay. Now he
landed
needs
on
to move it.
c4.
His knight is so much better.
You know what I would do in this position? I would play b3.
Or b3,
I
correct.
would just
Then
say
then
like,
you
okay,
just
you take on
combine all these
c4.
pawns and nothing is gonna stop them. I
Yes.
do like to keep the knight because you can put it on a 4 and the bishop frees up.
Yes.
Both defending g3 and attacking h5. And I think
Knight
that's what he
a3.
goes for to keep the knight
He's trying
alive.
to go to b5. He's
Because
trying
the
to go
black
to
knight cannot
b5.
find the good spot easily anymore.
Right. You cannot go to d5 back,
Mm.
unfortunately for you. So what Fabi should go for is try to activate his rook somehow. You cannot do it for the moment because you're losing the pawn on h5.
Mhm.
The king on h6 is in fact, it looks good, it's centralized, but it's in fact a liability. So he should go king f7, king g6, defend the pawn on h5, and then release the rook. But he goes knight d5, e4, knight f6, knight b5. Hikaru is taking over right now. You can just push, keep going d5, knight d4, knight f5 after that. Knight to c3, very controlled play. e5 now seems to be, I don't want to say
He's going
decisive,
to
but
f4.
it's a very strong move.
I
e5,
predict he's going to f4.
you want to go
Yes, I
knight
really
d2, knight
want the
f4.
knight on f4.
I think pushing p right now is best. But he's listening to you. He's listening to you, and perhaps for a good reason.
But do we want the trade on f4? The two passers, I guess, are not dangerous because the bishop. Oh, never mind. He has completely different ideas here.
He's
Maybe.
using the knight to defend the pawn on g3 and then
Yeah.
trying to go for d5.
Yeah, first d5, then like king c4, then e5.
This is what he wants.
And
He
then
wants to open up
e6, and
diagonal.
you lose a rook GG.
Yep, yep. That's what he wants to do. So he really needs, Fabiano, that is, to get this rook off this
Hmm.
diagonal. Rook
But where do
h7 or
you?
rook h6.
Yeah, well,
I
rook
would
h6
prob
will be hit by the bishop again, so
rook
h7 is probably
h7,
better. But then, yeah,
d5.
d5. Then you can play king c4. That knight is just so horrible on f6.
Yeah, yeah, king to e8, and he's looking at ideas of 97. By the way,
On
you can
d7.
win something. You can win material with d6 right now.
But he can even take on f6 and then bring the king and
I
push.
would not take on
Yeah, maybe
f6.
not
I don't
not
know
yet.
why, but it just feels like you're giving me this e5 square, and then
Yeah.
this knight is kind of stuck to the defense of the pawn on g3. No reason to do that.
Yeah, I guess what you can do is bring your king to c4.
Hmm.
C
But then you lose the
mm,
pawn on e4, so
no, if
not
knight
big.
d7.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
okay.
goes for
This is very
d6.
concrete. What is this?
Well, if you take with the bishop e5, you lose a piece.
Yeah,
If you
then
take with the pawn,
and
you
if
lose the
not,
knight.
yeah, okay.
So
And
bishop to
then
d8.
e5.
Yes,
And
bishop to
if knight
d8.
d6, then e6 and d7 and then checkmate on a5. Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, no. d6 and knight f4, this seems to be very concrete and very powerful.
Still cannot take.
No,
I mean,
it's
Fabiano
kind
can
of,
even resign here. Like
it's a very
97, then
funny looking pawn on
e...
d6 is,
I guess you take. No, there must be something concrete here.
you
Take
can
on
keep pushing p with
e5,
e5,
but then
e6,
take on d6.
and
You
e6. No, I would go e6.
and then take on h5.
Yeah, or even get the king to d5, like
Hmm.
knight c5, and then king
It
goes to
smells like
d5.
checkmate, even.
It's getting close to that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's getting
because
close to
once you
that.
block the pawn on d6, the bishop is completely out of play.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Put the bishop on d4 as well, just to put the last nail in the coffin. Okay, he
Knight takes
takes.
h5 and king to d8. Okay.
That was instant reply as well, because now the knight is pinned.
Somehow it's not that easy anymore. Take on
Yeah,
e7 and rook to h4.
still should be winning, but less pawns, more chances for Fabi.
You cannot take on g3 because knight takes g3, rook takes h4, knight
Exactly.
f5, and I win.
But if the king moves, then it becomes a possibility. Well, he can always play bishop e1.
But bishop e1, knight e5.
Yeah, then.
So he goes
Oh,
for knight
can
e5
usually
first.
move the king. Well, you can bring the king to defend g3, but the knight definitely got improved now.
Yes. But after knight e5, white has a big threat, and that is to move the knight away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is not looking good for black. I don't see any way to continue at this point.
Well, he can move the knight, and then knight f4 is not possible immediately, but then we can play king e3 and then knight f4.
Yeah, once this pin is eliminated, it's just going to be two extra pawns, and this is just a technical task at this point. Knight to g2, defend the pawn on h4. Unless something big happens, this is just a technical victory right now. But
Funny.
maybe, maybe it's still somewhat of a race. King g6, and you go b4, king h5, b5. This should be enough. Okay, knight to g2, king g6. They're following our analysis. b4. Yeah, yeah, this is the way he's going to give the h4 pawn, but he's going to use the other two pawns to get a queen.
Yeah, Levon lost again. Looks like he will be out.
King to h5. These are the runners that Hikaru is going to be using. I don't even think he's going to defend it with bishop to e1. It's probably unnecessary.
Yeah, just b5 probably.
Yeah.
You push it all the way, and then you start pushing e5.
And now just get a king in, get a king involved. King to e3, king to d4. Once you take on h4. It's still somewhat of a race, but the race is so visually appealing for white. G3. Okay. Maybe it's not.
He still needs to be careful here.
Maybe it's not completely over. Maybe we've
Well,
perhaps we
knight cannot take on
underestimated.
d4, that's for sure.
Yeah, king to g4 needs to be the move right now.
But then b6,
b6 and maybe bishop to b8.
and then you can.
He took on
Oh, he's
d4.
taking. No,
Wow.
but this isn't this lost?
It
E
certainly is.
e5.
The bar is telling us that it's completely lost. But, with 30
e5.
seconds on the
He's
clock,
not
still
even in
not
time to take that knight, I think.
still not completely over. You do give up the e5 pawn if you go e5. e5, king f5, and then you will lose the pawn on e5.
Knight e3.
93, king e6. You cannot defend it anymore because I go g2.
But
e5
once.
is not an easy move. King e2, bishop to d4. But now he can just go h5.
Yeah, he can give up that pawn for g3.
Yeah, this seems to be very much winning at this point. All you need is give up this pawn for the pawn on g3 and the game is over.
Yeah, g3 is the last chance for Fabi.
Yeah.
Yep, he's pushing it.
And he goes for h5.
And it's the third pawn, so Fabi cannot ignore it. He has to
He
move.
has to take it.
Yeah.
He has to take it. Otherwise, you're just going to give this one and then push the b
Yeah.
pawn.
3
Bishop to
pawns
e5.
are not possible to stop by one bishop.
Bishop to e5 has to be played. Unless Fabi thinks that maybe bishop to f2 is going to protect everything, but it's not.
No.
Yeah, bishop to e5
But then
keeps
b6.
control. e6, you might allow me to go. Yeah, b6, king g5, knight to e3. I guess just simple knight f5, knight takes g3 is what he's going for. Yeah, this seems to be fairly easy to win right now.
Now king g2, just to be safe.
Don't go knight f5, king h3. There's absolutely no reason to do that. So king g2, I think, is the right way. Eight seconds. Hikaru needs to make a move. King g2.
Yep.
Correctly understood that king h3 should not be allowed.
Yeah, here probably Fabiano soon will accept the defeat. b6.
b6 followed by b7, and then obviously knight d5, knight b6. Whoa! No. Okay, this
The engine
engine
decided to give us heart attack, but
this engine usually goes a bit
this all should
crazy.
be fine.
This silly little engine.
How do you end? Knight e7, knight c6?
Knight b4, knight a6.
Knight
So I think
b4,
you can
knight
go
e6.
just simply b7, put the pawn on b7, and then go knight b4, knight a6. I am winning that pawn.
Just make sure you don't lose e4 in the process.
Right.
But,
so I guess king d7 has to be the move.
or does he keep the king on e6 in case if you play knight e6, b8, and then you hop on e5, and you cannot defend it with king f3 because of g2?
you start with king f3, you
Yeah.
defend the pawn,
Yeah.
and then you have enough time to come back. So
Do
king
you?
e5, for example, I
Ah,
go knight
check. Yeah.
c6, check.
That's why he's not in a rush to play knight a6.
Yes, yes,
This is
yeah,
just the last accurate move.
that's the way. Yeah, that is the way.
Never underestimate the pawn on the third rank.
Exactly.
Like
No,
now,
no, no.
g2, king
Well,
g2,
g2,
king
I just did it,
e5.
and then I go
Then
back.
not knight c6, but king f3.
Yes, yes, yes. It's just about defending this pawn.
Mate in 26. Mate in 23, 24, 23. Okay, the engine is undecided here.
And that's it. That's game. After knight to c6, there's no way to stop b8.
Mhm.
It seems like the players are trying to figure things out. What went wrong for
No, I
for
think
for Fabi?
Fabi should probably resigned. Yep.
Okay, let's keep going because I do. Oh, never mind. All of the games have finished.
But there is some interesting developments there. So Alireza seemed to have been winning with a piece up. The knight
Let's
on
take a look.
g3 was indeed lost, but
Let's take a look.
Magnus somehow saved it.
Mm,
He found, I think what happened there is,
so this was the moment. This is the final moment. Right
yeah,
now, Ali Reza is with the white pieces, Magnus with black. He has an easy win. Well, easy. Easy
the,
for us to say that.
apparently he just needs to remove the bishop and the rook from that diagonal,
That's right.
because then the discover check is not a problem.
You can give a check anywhere you want.
Yeah,
It's not going to help you. And the d
because
pawn is
also the
going to
knight
run.
lands on f6 later.
So, for example, if you do get your piece back, I can
Yeah.
just simply take on g7 and now push my pawn.
Mhm.
And that's it. Lost.
Yeah.
Completely lost. Yeah. Yeah. And, with little time on his clock, 20 seconds seems to have been the case. He went king to g1, but now it's just perpetual.
Yeah. Well,
Now it's
he can
just
go to
perpetual.
f3,
You can go to f3, but then
but
I
then just
take,
bishop f6.
and then I go here.
Ah,
I
that's
give
what
you a check.
happened.
And if you
You
go
have
to
to give up
e4,
that
rook to
rook.
e2. And this is actually your worst right now.
Because
By
take and then
force.
rook e7.
Yes. And I have too many pawns.
So many pawns.
I have too many pawns.
Crazy. It's insane
Uh,
that Magnus sold this. Well, I guess he was losing, so he was just hanging by a thread and trying to create some complications. It was Alireza who needed to be precise.
yes. Maybe we can go through the standings right now
Hmm.
because it's time to start making those calculations and
Count
saying
count
exactly who's
the
going to.
count the sheep.
Okay, well, we do have somewhat of a race. Take a look at that. Nodirbek did lose
Hmm.
against Sindarov. Sindarov moves on and takes the sole lead with 6 points. Fabiano with 5. Ali Reza with 5. Both of those players on second position. And Magnus right now moves on to the fourth place, tied with Vincent Keimer and Hikaru. And we have Gukesh on 3 points, Nodirbek on 2.5. He's starting to feel the heat
Hmm.
because Fedosev did defeat Levon. So
Yeah.
right now, Fedosev only needs to catch up with Nodirbek. He needs to catch up in the last couple of rounds, cut that lead that Nodirbek still has, and potentially make it to the top 8. It's a big fight. Big
Yeah, I
fight for top
guess.
8.
Yeah, but Hikaru, I guess, is playing for the save. I
Hikaru is
mean,
looking good right now. Hikaru is
yeah.
looking good. This was a very important victory for
Yeah,
him.
Hikaru is safe. Hikaru is definitely in the knockout, but obviously he will not give up the last points.
Yes. And what Hikaru does not want is being fourth, right? Because then you obviously will have the most difficult pairing. You're going to be
Ah,
playing
no one can
Magnus.
choose the fourth place, right? They need to choose from 5 to 8. Is that the rule?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure actually. But my guess is that yes. Even
Mm.
though I don't know. Maybe the first three they can just choose from whichever they want.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, if you're in again, you're trying to escape more or less Magnus.
But it's
No,
very hard to get in top 3 for anyone, even for Magnus.
Yeah, no, top
Really
three,
need.
they seem to be, first of all,
Yeah.
Sindarov is definitely going to be in top three.
Yep.
There's no way to catch him. Fabi and Alireza are looking really good. They probably will be in top three. So
But they're both playing against Sindarov in the last two games.
that's a
So it
good
still will
opportunity for
be
them, yes,
interesting.
to try to catch up.
It can all swap depending how Sindarov feels.
And guess what? Levon, with only 1 point, you know who he's playing next round. He's playing
Magnus.
Magnus.
Poor thing.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and Hikaru is playing Vincent. So that's a big clash right there. Both players on 3.5 points
Hmm.
definitely will be fighting for that fourth
But
spot.
do you want to fight for fourth place? Maybe it's better to not to go to fourth place.
You
No,
see,
it's a good question.
it's a very good question. We'll find out and we'll discuss that after the break. We'll be back with more action. And we're back, everybody, with the final two games of the Freestyle Chess Inaugural Edition Grand Slam. Maria, that was a good round for Hikaru, a victory against Fabian right now, moving up the ranks and pretty much, I don't want to say securing those top eight positions, but definitely in a great looking position right now.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Was important win, also boost of confidence, beating one of the leaders. Um, and he is going to play Vincent, who actually improved a lot since last year. He's been having a great tournament so far. See, Hikaru is actually analyzing with Fabi and with Alireza.
Yes, it seems like, despite the fact that it was a decisive result, yeah, Fabi doesn't feel as, let's say, offended, by losing that game. He's like, you know what? I'm still making the top eight. I'm still feeling good. And
Hmm.
of course, Hikaru has great energy right now. Just won his first game, by the way. But we knew that Hikaru was feeling quite secured about making
Hmm.
it to the top eight. Even yesterday, he said, look, despite the fact that I'm on -1 after the first day, I'm still feeling very confident about making it. And he's showing it why.
Yeah, Hikaru is safe in definitely making the knockouts, but the question is from which place? We tried to, yeah, speculate a little bit how the choices will be done by the top three. It also depends who will be first, second, and third, because Sindarov is yet to play both Fabi and Alireza. So that will be interesting. Um,
I
but
think
yeah,
as long as you're not making it from the fourth position,
so it's
you
better to be
should
fifth
be.
rather than fourth, right? Do you think the players
Um,
are even thinking about that?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. No, and I did talk to Fabi about this one on. I remember we did a podcast after this one, and we were discussing exactly this same situation
Hmm.
last year. Just because nobody, again, there's no reason why you would want to play Magnus in a match.
Yeah, but does it mean if Magnus is fourth, then
Then
you
it's
need
unclear
to
what you want to
then
pick.
you need to be picked by the other three.
Right, right. And I'm not sure anybody would pick Hikaru also. So,
Yeah, so then Hikaru is automatically playing Magnus, right?
well, I mean, it very much depends on who the others are picking. So yeah, yeah. I don't know. There are some calculations to be made,
And if
but
you
I guess
finish fourth, then you are also playing Magnus, if you're Hikaru. So then the only way is for Magnus to lose both games and for Hikaru not to be fourth, right?
lots of calculations. I think you might be right. I think you might be right. I don't know. I don't know how these players think. I don't know who they, let's say, not necessarily fear less, but it's all about maximizing your chances, right? If you are one of the players that's qualifying from top three position, what you want is maximize your chances. So you're going to choose the player that you feel you have the best chances against, and that depends on a great deal of factors. Obviously, one of them is just shape. Like they're
Hmm.
going to look at the shape that the players are in. Like for example, right now, Nodirbek, obviously, we know that he's a feared opponent, but he doesn't feel to be in great shape in this particular competition. So, maybe somebody will
That
pick
being
him
said,
if he
he
makes it.
actually was doing really well against Sindarov at the start of the game. Something must have happened in the middle game.
Yeah, cool. And right now, we have Vincent with the white pieces against Hikaru. And we see the position as well. Bit of an interesting lump of the two knights on c8 and b8. The queen, once again, in the corner. These are the first things that I'm noticing. And the bishops on somewhat, well, one of them at least on the same position that it was in the previous game as well.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
Immediately
this is
g4, hitting b7.
g4. Wow. Okay, okay.
All of them. No, not
Well,
yet.
not
Magnus?
Vincent at least.
Not yet.
Vincent
Well,
actually goes
they
for
all
f4.
prepared together, but yeah, Vincent is not playing it. I think Magnus is gonna play g4.
Yeah, Vincent is bailing, let's say.
Yeah. He's like, I'm
Um,
not that cheap. I'm not going for your pawn. But then Hikaru can go g6.
yeah, yeah, yeah. G6 is definitely a move. G6 most
Backdoors.
likely is going to be met. Anytime you attack this pawn on b2, I'm probably just simply going to develop my knight to c3, and defend it like that. You can also just immediately take the center after g6 with the move d4. f5. Hikaru matches the energy of white on that side. f4, f5.
Actually, correct. G4 and G5 is also an interesting idea.
To start with g4 and then go for
To do
g5. Yeah.
G4 now, like to sacrifice this pawn, but surely B7 is worse because you're not only taking a pawn, you are giving a fork on a rook
Yeah.
and a knight.
Yeah. And one of the big games, by the way, outside, obviously, and we'll be perhaps keeping a glance at that after this game is finished, is Fedoseev versus Gukesh. Fedoseev versus Gukesh and Nodirbek versus Ali Reza. And I can tell you right now, Ali Reza already has an advantage. Nodirbek must be feeling the heat right now
Mm.
because Fedoseev only half a point behind him. Anything can happen in those last two, and anything can happen for the top eight right now.
Yeah, and Fedoseev is going like a with a hammer on Gukesh.
He needs to.
E4,
He
F4,
needs to.
G4.
Yep, he wants to win.
That is game for just two results. There won't be a draw in that game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're entering the final stretch right now. Okay, so c6, d3, and bishop to b6. He wants to exchange the bishops. He wants to exchange the bishops. I kind of like it. Look, my light square bishop is already open. It already has a life. My queen, I'm going to open it after g6.
Mm-hmm.
I might as well exchange this bishop that I really didn't see a path for, a future for. So I like what Hikaru is doing.
Yeah, it does look pretty comfortable. White still has some development to finish. E4.
E4. These players understand it's very very important to gain the center early on, and that's why we've seen the last couple of moves: knight to d2, supporting that move,
Mm-hmm.
e4, and now e4. And I think what he wants to do next is perhaps take on b6 and then follow that up with d4, create that sort of spear in the center, Marozzi bind, similar looking at least to the Marozzi bind.
Is Hikaru afraid of E5?
That's
E5
definitely
and
something that you
D4
should be afraid of.
can be
Yes.
annoying, right?
Yeah. E5 just killing the queen, but also just taking too much space. E5 followed
Yeah,
by
so maybe
d4.
G6 is
I think this is
necessary.
a good move.
I mean,
D6
he can
is a
also
good move.
trade on E4. But that kind of gives up any hope for center, fight for the center.
Yeah, yeah. Take would be something. The problem is you're also giving me the d3 square
Mm-hmm.
after you take this. So now I have an easy play. d3, bishop to
Certainly
c2,
gives white
castle.
a lot of freedom.
Yeah, too many moves, too many easy moves.
Mm-hmm.
He goes for d6. I think this is the right approach. This is a good decision by Hikaru. You're also, not only that you're stopping white from going e5, you're also looking at your own development.
And potentially even if e5 ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, I like this move, d6. I think I would say that Hikaru has, let's say, equalized the position if we're talking in chess terms, even though,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Stabilized everything.
stabilized it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a better word. Yes. Stabilized the position with black pieces. I don't think he has any
Mm-hmm.
issues coming out of the opening.
It can be especially difficult in Fisher random.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like this particular structure could potentially give a lot of advantage to white if you get even one move a little bit like too rustily, like too hastily.
Yes. And Hikaru is looking at us.
Oh, chat behave.
Chat behave. Yes. Yes.
Pretend we are all smart and just discussing the game.
Okay. How do you continue? Vincent is spending a lot of time on this decision because the easy moves have finished.
Mm-hmm.
You no longer have any clear path forward. You
It
need to
is
come
not
up with a
clear
plan.
how to develop the pieces as well, because it will very much depend on what Hikaru does in the center. The engine does suggest a4. I have to admit, I usually throw a4 when I don't know what to do.
And you've mentioned it that generally you want to push the pawns in front of your rooks
Mm-hmm.
in freestyle chess. So a4 is definitely something that I'm sure
Yeah.
Vincent is looking at. The problem with a4, and this is what and why I would most likely not do it, is I'm still thinking about castling long.
Mm.
He plays g3. So what I'm thinking about for the future is going something like bishop to b3 or bishop to c2, then exchanging on b3 or getting the knight on b3 and then castling. Bishop takes g1.
I like how Hikaru, he was like, probably, I will take that bishop eventually. But now that Vincent played g3 to open up his queen, he's saying like, nah, you just wasted a move.
Yes.
Your queen is going to g1.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Knight to d7. This knight, my guess is that he's going to go to b6, knight c b6, and then long castle. And in fact, you probably should go for it anyway, because after knight to a5, attacking the pawn on b7, then you can just simply long
Yeah,
castle.
just castle.
And
And
that
the knight
defends
is
everything.
displaced.
On a5, yeah.
Dim.
Yeah.
Knight on the rim is dim. Well, the both knights actually have the same problem in this position. Both sides. The knights are sort of looking at the same square, so kind of fighting for the same squares.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even more for Vincent than for Hikaru. But
Yes. Yes. I think the knight is going to, for example, the knight on d7 and the knight on d2, they're going to stay there for the moment.
mm-hmm.
Because this knight on d2 especially, it's supporting the push e4, which
Yeah,
is already on the board. And I do have a feeling that at some point, Hikaru is going to match that with e5.
yeah, it's very symmetrical at the moment.
Yes.
But yeah, you don't want to waste the tempo with knight a5 and force black to do what they already planned to do. But Hikaru was threatening with knight a4 if
And
Vincent
we
is
have
going to
a4
move the
on the board.
bishop. Yeah, because now it's almost forced if Vincent is not moving the bishop.
Yes. Yes. No, a4 right now. I think this changes the character of the
Yes.
position a bit.
Yeah, I guess a5. But
You
once
have
you
to you
play
have to go a5.
a5, how do you castle?
You don't.
Both of them
I think
will
you just
just
simply
not
don't.
castle.
Yeah, yeah. The king stays in the center or castles on.
Also,
Whoa!
bear in mind, for Vincent it's not a problem, but for Hikaru, if he plays a5, he cannot move the knight from d7
Wait a
because
minute.
b6 is
I am not a big fan of this move, mostly because it allows a5.
immediately.
That's the problem. That's the problem that I'm seeing.
But maybe e3 at least prevents them from.
And then knight d5. Maybe this is what he wants to
Maybe
go
that's
for,
his
right?
plan. And if
Yeah.
Vincent takes on e4, then maybe he wants to
Well, if
play
you take on an
five.
e4,
I
what do you
guess
take with, first of all?
probably pawn.
If you take with the pawn, then I always have knight c4 as
Hmm.
well.
And with the knight,
He took with the pawn, by the way.
he did take with a pawn. Then a5 is probably almost forced.
a5 for black,
Yeah. Oh, knight c4. He is
knight
playing
c4.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't at this point, once the c4 square is available for the knight, I'm not forced anymore to go a5. I can wait for you to create more
Mm-hmm.
weaknesses. I think this is what he's trying to do. Okay, knight to c4. The pressure is mounting on Vincent, and you can sense that from his time expenditure as well. He's not very comfortable with the position right now. 5 minutes 30 against Hikaru's 7 minutes 25. And this is something that I feel Hikaru has adjusted from day one. I don't remember in day one when Hikaru was up on time. In day
Mm.
two, every
Not
single
out of the
game,
opening, no.
not out of the opening at least, exactly. Right now, he's doing a much better job when it comes to his time management.
Yeah, he mentioned it in a post day interview as well that he was not happy with his time management
Yes,
because it does kind of destroy your confidence.
it does.
You start rushing or not go for complicated positions because you have no time to calculate. So he saw all the moves that we were discussing, but it's just difficult to do them there when you are risking a loss.
Yes. Knight c4, knight takes c4, bishop takes c4, and rook to f3. Okay. I'm actually now I'm trying to make all the math in my head and try to understand who's going to make it on top three. If you're Hikaru right now, do you do you play for a win or are you okay with a draw? I, I
I think he might be okay with the
I
draw.
think a draw is even a better result than a win. Because a win is going to give you some serious chances of finishing in the fourth place.
Yeah, you kind of want to keep that option open. I think regardless of where Magnus is, it's better to be not on fourth place,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. No, for sure. Fourth place is somewhat the worst.
Except if Magnus is fourth, then it doesn't matter. But the
Right.
best is to be in the same side with Magnus, but that only can happen if both of you are in below half.
You should you should want Vincent to be on fourth.
So, but Hikaru is playing the wrong opponents then.
Yes. Yes.
If they were playing with Magnus in the last round, then it would be funny. Hikaru just giving up all the pieces, saying Magnus take the win.
E5. Okay. What do we do now? What do we do now? What do you think Vincent wants to do right now? Like, do you think he's thinking about all of these calculations or he's just
No,
simply
no,
trying to play
he,
his best?
yeah, he also did not start so well at the beginning of the day yesterday. So I think he just wants to survive. I don't think I think he did not make it out of the round robin stage last year. So for him, this is already a huge improvement.
It's a huge improvement. Yeah, yeah. And look, the prize fund is pretty juicy, you know. I have to say, if you make it in the top eight, that's some that's a good paycheck.
No, I'm wrong. He did make it to knockout, but he lost in the first match, I think, to Noderbeck.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, for him, I don't think it matters whether he finishes fifth, sixth, seventh. He probably will be picked by one of the top players.
Excuse me. What?
B4?
No, this cannot be.
But what
This is
about
not a good
C?
move.
What about
No, now I can just take.
C3? But
I
we
can
can
just
take on
take
F4, right?
and
And
take
queen
on f4
C3. I
again,
think he just blundered.
and then take on c3. Yes, yes.
What
This is a
is
huge blunder.
Hikaru's face showing? Is Hikaru doing Gukesh?
I think he's incredulous about this blunder. Obviously, b4 just feels like the wrong move.
Yeah,
You're
it's
weakening
just
your position too much.
yeah.
It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, I saw kind of the same happening with Sarana yesterday in the last round of Freestyle Friday. He played F was it F5? He was playing black, I think. F5. And he resigned in 3 moves. And I was like, this is just not a move. The king is there, all the pawns are suddenly weak, like everything weakened with just one move. And I think it was a 5. I was like, yeah, or C4, just the same, but the king was there. I was like, yeah, this is just, and yeah, fair enough, he lost.
Just to give you that update, it does seem like Fedosev has a slightly better position against Gukesh, definitely, and much better on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
And Nodirbek is struggling still against Ali Reza. So things might be changing. We might be seeing Fedosev surpass Ali Reza for that coveted eighth position after this round. It's still early to tell, but there's a big chance for big fish to maybe get in those top eights going in the final round.
You mean surpassing Gukesh?
Nodirbek.
Ah, Nodirbek, yeah.
Yeah, Nodirbek is on 2.5.
Mm.
He would be catching up with Gukesh as well
Yeah.
if he does
Yeah, if
defeat him.
Gukesh loses and Nodirbek loses, it could end up Nodirbek against Gukesh. I mean, it also depends on how Hikaru does against Fedoseev in the last round.
Yes, yes, yes. No,
But it
it's
actually might work very well if he doesn't want to be fourth and he doesn't mind muddying the waters. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything.
Look, there's going to be calculations, but I don't think, yeah, nothing of
Not
that
that, not
sort
to that extent.
is going to happen for sure. By the way, Vincent, realizing what he's done, realizing that right now
I
you're
guess he
just
cannot take on a 4 anymore.
tactically in trouble. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really bad position.
But then what do you do? Like, if you don't take on a 4, what do you do?
I guess you can go something like b5, try to muddy the waters, as you were just pointing out, and say that okay, b5, take on
Hmm.
b5, and then take on b7 with the knight, and then hope for the best. Hope that the king is
Yeah,
somewhat weak.
but Hikaru's gonna go for the king. He will just ignore all that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, 95 might be a bit too much. I don't know. Maybe he will take on b5 twice, allow him to take on b7. But then knight d6 comes with check.
Queen
Okay.
d4.
I think Vincent does like it's probably the most objectively logical decision to either trade the queens or at least he brings the queen to play to at least try to complicate somehow. But he obviously knows he screwed up.
He's in trouble. Yeah,
Big trouble.
yeah, he's in trouble. And to be honest, after queen d4, knight e5
Yeah.
seems like a very strong move. Knight e5, and in fact, you're just losing material. You're
Yeah,
losing an
b5
exchange.
probably was better. At least it was hitting the bishop. Now knight e5 comes for free.
It's just an exchange. You're actually just losing an exchange after knight e5. Knight to d3. There's no way to do anything else. Knight takes f4. You
Yeah.
exchange the queens
Yeah.
most likely. I take on f4.
And he's already 30 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, I mean,
This might be a very quick game for Hikaru.
you're probably not going to be defending that endgame.
No.
And knight e5 is such a
It might
natural
not
move
even
for
be an
Hikaru.
endgame, like it's just
Yeah,
annihilation.
yeah, yeah. Knight e5
Crazy how
feels
just one pawn move changed, crushed the hopes.
destroys the whole position. Yeah,
Yeah.
you make an additional weakness at the wrong moment, and the position collapses. Yeah, and there's also a huge time difference. We haven't emphasized this enough. Vincent is on 27 seconds. I haven't seen this big of a time difference in a very long time.
Yeah.
Queen to d4. We're expecting knight to e5 right now.
All the
Expecting knight to
positions
e5.
look completely crazy. All 5 games.
You've been following, yeah?
Yeah, I'm just glancing at them. It's
That's good.
crazy.
That's good. Knight e5 on the board. Rook takes f4. We're going straight into that endgame. Knight to d3 is going to arrive shortly on the board. There's absolutely nothing else you can be doing in this. What?
Mhm.
Excuse me, what? I was just about to say that you cannot touch any
What?
other piece. And then Hikaru
How
plays
not
c5.
93? What was he afraid about? Of
I think he just believes this is completely winning, but queen d5, I'm
e5?
infiltrating via queen e6. What? Ah, okay. So let's see. Queen d5, knight here, knight takes,
Mm-hmm.
and then I guess he just wants to go something like queen d6. I'm not really sure. I do not know exactly what's happening, Maria. And he took on c5. I think he just wanted to confuse him.
But
Maybe
then
he
I
just wanted to
okay,
confuse him.
but now knight d3 for sure happening, right?
Knight d3 is completely winning. Yeah, yeah. Knight d3 is completely winning.
Yeah, maybe he just wanted to play against the clock.
Yes, but in a
Maybe he
very
wants to draw.
dangerous
No,
manner.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think he's thinking about that
I don't,
too
well,
much.
it really depends what Magnus does. Oh, Magnus is actually winning against Levon. So Magnus might end on force and then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's probably a good. That's probably a good thing. At least you have a chance, right, not to get picked. And
Mm,
even if you do, look, you're gonna have to play. That's it. That's it. You're gonna have
only
to play. You're
if,
gonna have to win. And Magnus is not in the best shape right now.
you know, Sindarov might pick Hikaru instead of Noderbeck.
But
Because they
Nodirbek is not
always,
making it yet. We're not 100% sure if he's
yeah,
gonna make
it
it.
depends what Noderbeck does, where he ends. Yeah.
To be honest, Nodirbek right now is not looking in a great position. He's not
No.
looking like he's in a great position.
So yeah, I think it depends on other players.
Like
But
we know
from
already that Levon is most likely not making it.
yeah, Levon is definitely out. Even if he survives this, which he probably won't. Magnus is going for the throat.
Sure. At this point, this is just a technical task for Hikaru, but still some work to be done.
Yeah, but it's a nice work. You have better position, more time. Doubling the rooks or yeah, I guess. He's just waiting.
A5, bishop to B5.
Ah yeah, he can double against the pawn on E4. Yeah, it's still, you still need to be careful. Maybe c4 could be an option as well.
This knight is looking at potentially landing on e5.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you still have ideas of taking and maybe infiltrating with a rook via the a file. The thing is, once you take on b6, I can always take back with a king, and that will create a pass pawn
Mm-hmm.
on
That's fair.
on the a file. So it's a bit dangerous to take on b6 to exchange. But Hikaru, I have to say, has made his task a bit more difficult with his last few moves, with just the way he handled this endgame.
Yeah, he doesn't seem very like pleased. Like he realizes there is still a bit of work.
Knight d7. And kudos to Vincent. I mean, look, he managed to defend, or at least, managed to defend so far a difficult position, very, very difficult position. He somehow gave himself some chances.
Yeah, maybe he was just forced to play only moves.
To
So
d8,
doubling the
knight to
rooks, knight
f3.
f3, he wants to play to e5.
Yeah, he's looking at that knight e5, but knight e5 right now doesn't work because of rook to d2.
Mm-hmm. And if take with the king.
I'm not sure if you would take with the king anymore, but I mean, taking with the king is something, but rook to b1 after taking with the king might be creating some trouble. So
Yeah, the engine is not super happy with the converting this advantage. It's not even sure if there is any advantage left. But this time advantage should be at least worth one pawn extra.
take on h5. Would you take on h5?
You cannot defend it, right? So it's
And
like a trade. And also you're
I'm not
allowing
sure
two
if it's a
passed
trade, but
pawns.
rather just allowing a sacrifice, right? Just allowing these two pass pawns might be a bit dangerous.
Yeah, I probably would not take it.
Yeah, taking is a bit too much. The thing is, if you go bishop to d3, this is the idea. The only move, I believe, is bishop to b3. Bishop to a4 allows b5, but bishop
Mm-hmm.
to b3, now I'm looking at getting to
c4, then
d5.
you
If you
cannot
go
play
c4, then I
b5.
go
Yeah.
bishop a4.
Mm-hmm.
a4. Now there's no more b5.
And then rook e7, knight e5,
Let's see, we have a
g5.
move, rook to e7.
So
Take.
yeah, he's waiting for knight e5, then he can play g5.
We got a bit of a heart attack with the move rook to f1. Obviously, that would have
Yeah,
allowed
but now rook e8,
bishop to take the
he's
pawn.
coming from behind.
Yes.
Rook a2, rook a3.
Yeah, this is a good development. What Vincent should have done was e5 first. Rook to g1 allows rook a8, rook a3. So
I
now
think
I feel
Vincent
like
was a bit afraid of g5.
bring the other rook right now. Rook h7, rook h7, rook h2. He goes for rook a2. Bishop to a4 is a big threat. You have to defend against that with king to c1.
Oh my god. What
But
is
now you're just
happening?
losing. Now you're just losing by force. Rook to a1, bishop to b1, and rook to e5. He sees it. Hikaru sees it. Hikaru delivers it. And this is actually just game over.
Mm-hmm.
Game, set, match right now. You take on e5. Everything is forced. Rook a1, bishop to b1, bishop d3, king b2. Take, 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 take. And that's
Nice.
just a losing pawn endgame. I'm going to go king c7, king d7, king e6, and that's it. The g pawn is running. The b pawn is running. You cannot stop both of them.
Awesome. Last blow,
Yeah, this is it.
and you cannot save it.
This is it. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
just
because
a
king b2, you just exchange everything and run the pawn.
We might see a resignation. King to d2 doesn't really help.
Rook
Rook
b1.
takes b1. Rook to
Oh,
g4.
he continues to play. Okay, bishop somewhere back.
It's not going to help
I
much.
guess he is, yeah, he will take that pawn, but then
Rook e2.
rook e2. Still some work to do, but he will just push b5,
No,
b4,
there's
create
no
a
more work.
passer.
There's no more work. I just go bishop to d3. I go rook to e2. You go king f4, king f3, bishop to d3. I pick up the pawn on e4. I think
Okay. Okay.
I think it's very little work, if anything.
Okay.
It's very little work. Yeah, rook to e2. Rook to e1, for example. But maybe you're right. Maybe there is some work. How are the other games looking? How is
Well,
Fedosev?
some stuff is going on there. Like Nodirbek is saving against Alireza, it seems like. It's still very unclear, but at least he is out of the danger. Fedoseev is suddenly losing.
Ooh,
Yeah, Gukesh
and
is winning completely. Found another, I guess. Did he sacrifice a piece?
That's very good news for Nodirbek.
Yeah, he didn't. Oh, yeah, it looks like he's checkmating him.
Very good news for Nodirbek. You go king e5 or king f5. I can just go king c6. I can go b5.
Yeah, b5, b4 seems the most straightforward.
Yeah. Now
White
I'm
has
even
nothing.
threatening to take on e6. You just simply don't have any moves.
Yeah, yeah, he already can take on e6.
This is looking good. It's he's completely stuck. e5, just first of all, bishop to d3 wins on the spot. Bishop takes, and then just push the pawn, push the p.
Yeah, he will resign now. Finally. Yep.
And that's it.
Hikaru was
Hikaru
first to win.
wins this one. First
Two
win
in a row.
of the round, two in a row. Definitely showing in day two why he's one of the favorites to win this event. Let's move on to Fedosev, who's losing right now against Gukesh, but it's still not over. Actually,
No.
I would not say losing. It's a worse position, obviously, but to be honest, anything can happen right now. Anything can still happen in this one.
Yeah, but it looks like after d4, the king is not gonna survive this.
No d4 yet, at least,
Yeah, at the
because
moment, no, but that's
into
what
a8.
Fedoseev is trying to do to prevent d4.
Oh, c4. Big
Oh,
fish going
oh,
for it. What is this?
wow.
d4, moving the pawn in front of your king like this. This is only like a Fedosev move. Only Fedosev can play this move.
Fedoseev and Sarana.
I mean, this is
It
just an
didn't end good for
insane
Sarana,
move.
but we'll see if Fedoseev survives.
c4 is an absolutely insane move to play in front of your king like this. What a madman. What a madman.
YOLO save, yeah.
c4. I've never seen anything like this. And rook to c2. Okay. I mean, you're going to get checkmated, buddy. There's no
It
Not
has
bad.
to end badly, but so far, I mean, Gukesh still needs to find it.
Queen a3 followed by d takes c4. Is that not enough? Like, what is this?
Yeah, you cannot take because of rook d6.
King e3.
He's
The
just
best move.
running,
Best move in the position. He's just running.
but still
He's
rook
just running.
d6, right?
Why is he playing so calm also? He's like, oh yeah, just king d3.
He's just trying to demoralize. But they're both calm, like freakishly calm.
Yeah. Rook c3 followed by queen b2. I don't know. This king on e3 doesn't feel safe at all.
Fish
Yeah.
is swimming away.
Did he go queen b2?
Don't know.
Oh,
Looked
he
like he
he
did.
he touched the square, but he did not
Mm.
release the queen. So the queen went back,
No,
queen
he
to
still went
b2.
because there is no other way move with the queen.
But now I take on c4.
Yeah. Maybe he is surviving.
Unbelievable.
Uh,
Unbelievable if he
Imagine if the
actually.
save still wins, like his H pawn ends up promoting.
I can see that. I mean, he's a
That's
pawn
gonna
up.
be crazy.
He's a pawn up after all.
It doesn't look like there's
Take,
nothing
take.
left.
Oh my goodness, he might actually survive this.
He can take on E6.
He can. Take, take, take on c3. He should probably go for
He
that.
probably has to. That's the only way to equalize the pawns, because this is already going to endgame. Okay, so it will end in a draw then.
I wouldn't call it just yet. I wouldn't call it just yet. The position remains way
Yeah,
too
play
complicated.
king E2 and lose a queen.
King f2 only move. Only move, otherwise you lose a piece. Go to
King
e1.
E1 only move.
Defend the bishop on d1. King e2, obviously bishop
And
c4
now
would be game
he
over.
still takes on C4, maybe with bishop. No, with bishop, then checks starting.
I think queen takes e7, just
Ah,
pick
yeah,
up the
just
pawn.
queen
Pick up
E7.
the pawn.
Still, you can still get checkmated.
Mm, difficult, difficult, difficult. But yes, yes, anything can still happen.
Oh my God. Maybe we should switch to Alireza Nurberg. It's some
This
adventures.
one seems to be more or less equal. Yeah, I think
Yeah, like
let's call it. We think
I
we're
would
gonna
call
it's
it
gonna
a
be a draw.
draw at this point, more likely.
I agree with you. Let's go to Nodirbek with the white pieces against Alireza. Absolutely wild position in this one as well. Nodirbek cannot lose. He cannot afford to lose.
No.
He cannot afford to lose. If he draws this one, we believe that he's still going to be at least half a point ahead of Fedosev. But Alireza has a pawn up. King to b7, taking away the check on c6. Alireza is still pressing. Material is very limited, and it does look like he's very close to securing the draw, but it's still not over yet. Knight to f3, hitting the rook on h2. You can never take on d3 because that would allow me to get a pass pawn, a very dangerous pass pawn. That's something that you don't want. Rook to e2. 12
Maybe
seconds.
knight back, d4.
Knight to d4, rook to
Question is
d2.
whether Nurberg is happy with the draw.
Oh, Nodirbek is definitely happy
He
with the
has
draw.
to be happy here, right?
Guaranteed, guaranteed. No, there is no debate about that. No,
Because he's
Nodirbek
still
right now,
ahead of Fidesafe, but he might not see it because Fidesafe might be on the other side of the playing hall.
it doesn't matter. I mean, he's a pawn down. He has absolutely no
Yeah,
chances
no
unless a
chance of foiling.
huge blunder happens. Rook to h3. Like he hopes. Like knight d4 right now would be, I believe, losing after knight to e3. a3. a5. Rook to e1.
Safe and Gukesh probably will play to bear kings. Okay, rook h2, he has to move the knight. You don't want to go into a pin.
Queen h5. I think it's time. I think it's time to get active with queen h5.
At least some chances for a
And he
couple of
spots it.
checks.
Okay, now actually, you play something like knight to f4, and then I get a check on h1. You might be starting to panic.
Yep.
There is an opportunity that you might be starting to panic. Because that check
Like
is
he can
very
play knight
dangerous.
c3, but
He can, again, queen to
then
h1.
queen h1.
Yeah. c6. Oh my goodness.
Queen e8?
Queen e8 might be winning for Nodirbek right now.
Checkmate?
Queen
Oh
e8
my
and he
god!
spots it. Nodirbek is winning this
I
one.
called it!
I cannot believe it. Queen to e8, queen
Alireza!
d7,
He's
queen takes
stripping!
c6.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Alireza.
Can we have the video of Alireza?
Queen d7. Rook e7. Oh no.
Oh no. 97. Did he what?
Knight e7 followed by c5. Kick the knight away, and then you're going to have queen d1,
Mm,
queen b3. You're going to have a perpetual check after c5. c5, you move the knight, perpetual check.
yeah, so you have to do something else. No.
My
Alireza is
goodness, what
annoyed, and
is
Notterbeck is also
happening?
realizing that he messed up.
Alireza not happy, obviously, but
But they
still,
are both not happy.
I mean, Nodribek had a win. Incredible. From that position to get a winning position, this is unheard of. Okay, c5.
So Queen D7 was winning, but it's not so
This
easy to
one,
see.
he has 2 seconds on the clock. I don't know if he made a move, knight to f5, and now we're just going to see the perpetual. Prescribed perpetual with queen d1, queen
Yeah,
b3,
it's
and a draw
true.
was agreed.
Yeah.
Fedosev drew as well against Gukesh. So going into the last round, these two players, and I do believe, let's see if there's still any more games. Magnus has defeated Levon. Fabiano and Sindarov finished in a draw. Yeah, I think that's round 8 for you. Maybe we can take a look at the standings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this was the most draws played in one round. This has been a very bloody tournament so far.
Let us know what the pairings, what the standings look like, Maria.
Yeah, so Javahir is clear first with a full point lead. So he is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely safe on the first place, at least shared. Then Fabi with 5.5. Alireza, no, Alireza is also on 5.5, right? Yeah, both of them on 5.5. And then Magnus after a win over Livon, shared with Hikaru on 4.5. So it's between Magnus and Hikaru who will be fourth.
It seems very likely. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It seems very likely one of them will be fourth, the other one will be fifth in this
Unless they
case.
both lose and Vincent and Gukesh win, then it might get like we want to avoid being in different half of the table with Magnus, right?
Yes.
And then the only
Not going
way,
to be easy.
yeah, the only way is, or if Hikaru wins, can he? But then both Caruana and Alireza need to lose.
If Hikaru wants to have a chance of avoiding Magnus, he needs not to get fourth place.
Yes. Or he needs to be in top
So
four.
so fifth, sixth doesn't really matter
No. Then both of them
as
need
long
to
as
be
he's not fourth
four.
place.
Yeah.
Because fourth place, it's pretty much guaranteed you're going to play Magnus. If Magnus is in fourth place, then maybe somebody else before Magnus is going to choose Hikaru.
Which is unlikely. Let's
It's
be honest.
unlikely, but it's possible. Like, somebody might be feeling like they have a better chance against Hikaru than against, I don't know, Nodibek, Gukesh,
No,
whoever.
you know what would be
Whoever makes
ideal?
it.
Gukesh wins over Magnus.
Okay.
Vincent wins over Fabi.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, again, it
uh,
doesn't really matter at
and
this point.
then Magnus loses, right? So yeah, then Hikaru also needs to lose. The thing is, he either needs to both lose with Magnus or win with Magnus.
Yeah,
Because
fair
if
enough.
Vincent and Bukesh are winning and Hikaru and Magnus are both losing, then they all land on 4.5, and then it can be anyone in top four. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But we
Yes.
cannot root for Hikaru to lose.
No, of course not. I mean, again, it's just is the nature of this type of brackets. At some point, you start making those calculations. Again, from a player's perspective, it's all about maximizing your chances at winning the tournament,
Mm-hmm.
at making it past the next step, past the next round.
Yeah.
And everybody's looking at that. Everybody, it's a strange position to be in, but everybody will be looking at that. So we'll see how it plays out. I think it's time for us to take a break,
Yeah.
the final break before the final game of stage one. We'll be back in just a few minutes with final round action. See you guys
Yeah.
soon. Welcome back, everybody, to the final championship round here from stage one of the Weissenhaus Freestyle Grand Slam, the first tournament of the Grand Slam. Maria, a lot of exciting chess 960 so far, and anything can happen in the final round. Can you catch us up to what's the situation right now in the standings?
Yeah, so I actually spent the whole break time studying all possible scenarios. It's pretty funny. Somehow, in almost all scenarios, Magnus and Hikaru will end up in the different halves of the table, which looks very likely to end up Hikaru having to play Magnus in the first knockout match, which would be exciting, but if we could avoid that, it probably is a bit better. Who knows?
And I do think
Um,
that there's a scenario where Magnus gets a third place as well.
yes,
If he
but
wins this one against Gukesh and Ali
mhm,
Reza loses,
yes,
then
and
Magnus,
Fabi loses.
I'm not sure about Fabi necessarily needing to lose, but I think even if Magnus wins and Ali Reza loses, then Magnus might be third, right?
Yeah, the thing is, Fabi also has 3 draws. So the first tiebreak is direct encounter, which does not apply with more than 2 players because
Mm-hmm.
it's just
Mm-hmm.
no direct encounter. Second one is number of wins. So Magnus, Vincent, both have better, like they only have 1 draw. So it would push Fabi and Alireza out. And if Hikaru wins, then it's between them. But Hikaru has better Sonia Bonberger because he drew Javahir and he won against Fabi. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think Fabi also needs to lose because then, oh, but then Hikaru lands in the first half. Then you're right. I think, I don't know. I mean, it's too many variables which we cannot control, obviously, and cannot predict anything. But if Vincent somehow manages to win against Fabiano, then it can muddy everything. And then Alireza losing to Javahir is also possible. So that,
Absolutely.
and
Look,
Magnus is playing Gukesh, so that also can be a possibility. But it's
let's
all,
catch everybody with all the pairings. Obviously, Hikaru is playing Fedosev. You can see that on your screen. That's a big one because Fedosev is still fighting for those top 8 positions.
Mhm.
Only half a point behind Nodribek as of right
Yeah.
now. Ali Reza versus Sindarov, big matchup. Hikaru versus Fedosev, as we just mentioned. Fabiano versus Vincent. Levon is facing Nodribek. Levon is pretty much out at this point.
Mhm.
He, but he can play spoilers. So, there's still something to be played for. And Gukesh against Magnus.
Yeah, I see that Hikaru, Fabi, and Alireza pretty much became studying buddies for the start of the game.
I'm seeing moves in Levant versus Nodribek. Do you know what that is all about? It seems like it already started, but I'm sure it hasn't.
Looks like it started. I guess video is on a bit of delay.
No, because it has started for a long time. Levant is on 4 minutes
Oh,
right
then
now.
maybe Levon was sitting alone and was just moving pieces on the board. They do it, so
Maybe,
they
maybe
might
that is the
forget.
case. Maybe that is the case.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe that is
Yeah,
the case. Okay, the players
it's
are
just there.
taking
That's
their
there.
seat. Hikaru about to face the big fish, Fedosev. What's your prediction, Maria, for this one? Who do you think
Well,
is
it
going
will
to?
be wild because Fedoseev has nothing to lose. He just he can only advance with a win. And it
Yes.
almost worked for him against Gukesh. Um, moving 3 pawns from his king and attacking. Yeah, he definitely caught Gukesh by surprise. Of course,
And
Hikaru knows that it's coming.
Hikaru starts with g4. Well, one thing that definitely helps Fedosev is in this one, getting a wild position is not difficult.
Yes,
It's
this
it's quite
this
simple
variant
actually.
is very very comfortable for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it screams for wild positions. In fact, we did not have any boarding positions at all.
No, no, no. So g4, f5. Okay, f5 is a challenge. Not going with the usual symmetrical approach. g4, g5. We've seen this type of symmetry in a lot of the games, but in this case, immediate tension between the pawns, g4 and f5.
Yeah, Livon's position is still not fixed, and his time is actually down to 2 minutes. I'm sure it's just some mistake with clocks.
Yeah,
Because if
hopefully,
he's not there, who made d4 move
hopefully something didn't happen, or
with
sometimes you
Livon?
have some
Yeah, I
health
hope so.
issues, or you have to withdraw or something like that. Hopefully that didn't happen, because obviously that would impact the tournament, and quite
Well,
severely
maybe we
so.
can quickly glance on the video if it's possible to pull it up, just to not to worry. But yeah, I'm sure it's just clock did not. Maybe it's just froze. Maybe they started too early and the arbiter was fixing it and it's just not reset yet on chess.com.
Must be, must be
They were so
frozen.
eager to
Yes.
play.
I don't think so. I don't, I don't think you. I mean, look,
Well, Livon probably not, but Nodirbek might be.
they're not abiding by any rules, right? But still,
They're
you know,
freestyling.
they're starting one game 10 minutes before all the others, while the others are analyzing probably loudly the positions, would somewhat be unusual.
Yeah, just see what they are doing and do the same.
Knight to f6, f4. You see, things are clearing up on the king side, right? On the queen side, not that much is being moved, but on the king side, almost all the moves except b3 were played on the right side, the king side.
Hikaru he seems to look at the on the side a lot. Maybe there is some commotion.
Mm. Mm, Doesn't. No, no, no. I have the moves right now. It does seem like everything is
Okay,
just fine.
but it's and it's
E4,
different moves. Yeah,
b6, queen e2, f5, and this is what we have. We're not going to spend any time on that one.
nice.
Just wanted to give you
Yeah,
guys an
yeah,
update. So back to Hikaru.
yeah.
b3, knight to f6, f4, g5, and knight to d3.
Yeah, very early development of the queen for Fedoseev. He's clearly out for the blood.
And this
Okay.
is a mistake.
Oh,
Taking on f4 is a mistake, because
why is
white
that?
has a tremendous shot right now to take not a huge advantage, but really disrupt black's position, and that is e4, and he finds it.
Wow. So if knight e4,
94, I just take
then
your
it is
bishop.
bishop. Yeah,
I
and
just
you
take your
have
bishop.
no.
No way
Yeah,
to
I
trap it.
forgot about that poor thing on h8. I wonder if the save did as well. Okay, he's attacking a2, but
It doesn't matter. That's
it doesn't.
another hit on the
You
queen
cannot
you
even take it
cannot
because the
touch.
rook a1 and your queen is trapped.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the point of it all. Because if you do go queen to a3, now I can continue harassing the queen with bishop to b2, you still have to move it if you take
Cam
on a2,
opening.
rook a1. The scam opening. It sort of looks like a scam opening. That's true.
Well, when you develop the queen so early, you will inevitably have it attacked. That's why I never play the scamd.
It does look like a Scandinavian, right? But this is the scamdy, the scandy or the scamdy. Yeah, bishop to c3. I think Fedoseev now realizing that
Yeah,
he's in trouble.
he really realizes now that he messed up. Queen
I mean,
h5, attacking h2.
queen h5.
Maybe the only way.
Yeah, yeah. But now I just go e5. This is the
Mm.
problem. The problem is that your knight is completely out of play.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to go back to g8.
And white developed everything. This actually can end super quickly.
This is such a bad position. Like I just go knight e2. I defended everything. It's it might. I think it's just losing. Maria, I'm not. You know, um, I think it's just losing this one. I don't see the compensation for how many moves you already lost and how big of a lead in development I have with the white pieces.
Yeah, even the bishop on a1, which usually will stay there for a long time because you don't really need to move it that much. It's already in the game.
Yeah,
He got it for free developed there, and it
completely
can
free.
even attack the king now.
Yes. And you can go king b2. If you want to develop your, let's say, do the castle, you can just simply go king to b2. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is absolutely atrocious position for black. If you try to go
yeah,
knight to
it does look
g4
very fishy
for the big
for the,
fish,
for the big fish.
I like that. I like that. I like
Oh,
that.
he has to go back. That's definitely a bad sign. The
And
pieces
guess
it
what? You are playing and you are speaking very often about squares that cannot be defended. How exactly do you defend the square e7? So, for example, let's say you take and I go knight
you
to
can,
d5.
well, if you're attacking it with a bishop, you mean?
No, with the knight. You're in trouble. I mean, I think you're just getting mated right now.
Oh yeah, he took on a 4.
If you go something like queen to h4, I go queen h3, and guess what? You go queen g5, I go queen takes g4. You take, I take on e7. That's a mate.
Oh yeah. In fact, there was a puzzle like this in Wesley's course on Chessable.
He understood, Fedoseev understood that he needs to defend that pawn on e7. So he went back to g8, but this is just a very sad looking position.
Mm-hmm.
Knight takes f4, queen takes h2, and you're not, you don't have any pieces that you can play with at this
No.
point. Nothing is developed. I have all the space in the world.
I guess he can play knight e2.
Yeah, 92 seems like.
Such a nice position. You almost don't want to rush it and want to enjoy.
Yeah,
Knight
you
h3.
don't want to
He's
finish it
also
too fast, right?
yeah, he's also trapping the queen. Kind of semi trapping.
Yes. Well, give me a couple more moves. Let me
Yeah,
play
like
queen f3, bishop
you move
g2,
the
and rook
queen.
h1.
If
That's it.
queen g3, queen g1, you win the knight on g8.
Exactly.
And the knight from e8 has almost no moves. Okay, he plays to g7, but look at that bishop. Now he can even play e6 if he really wants to.
Nice looking bishop. I'm being sarcastic, by the way, if it wasn't obvious. Yeah, the bishop on h8 is
I guess
ridiculous.
e6 is not necessary because it's ultimately a trade of pawns and pieces, but it's a possibility.
It is. It is. It certainly is.
Maybe queen development first. He can play queen c4 maybe with knight d5 idea, hitting c7 and e7.
Yeah. Queen c4, I guess b5 seems to be an unnecessary thing to allow
Oh yeah.
just because you sort of develop with tempo, right? Um, you don't have to rush anything is the key right now. And
Hmm.
e6, I think you do give away the f6 square. This is a knight that I
Yeah,
really like. Just keep it on
yeah.
g8. Keep it passive. You have moves. I mean, you have
Or maybe we
improving
just trade the
moves.
queens and go to an endgame, which is
With
just
queen to
so
g1.
much
Okay,
better.
that's an interesting
Because how do you develop
opportunity.
there?
I was thinking about knight e6, but it does look ugly. It
He
does look ugly. So let's
he
say I go
also
knight
has
f5.
knight g5 maybe. But maybe rook f8 can be annoying.
Rook f8, knight takes h7. I'm happy. I mean, even this endgame is looking very good.
But you can you cannot you take with a queen?
Sorry, where?
If now knight g5, not I meant not trading the queens.
Oh, knight to g5 first.
But maybe it's not really threatening
Yeah, rook
much.
f8 now.
Yeah. So maybe trading the queens, why not? It's very hard to finish development for black without allowing us a lot of activity.
I would not trade the queens right now.
You want to go for
I'm
the king.
well. Also, I feel like the queen on h2 is gonna get trapped, or at least I'm going to be able to try
Hmm.
to trap it. Um, these are the things that I'm
But if
thinking about
you
right now.
if you go through every single idea, you were like a little bit um risking to lose too much time. Like almost too many options.
Yeah,
The
no,
perfection is the enemy of the good, right?
that's a very very real possibility. Yes.
Maybe just go for something just just objectively good in this position.
So if I am trying to trap
Mm-hmm.
that queen, I cannot do it with queen f3. This was the initial intent, but I think queen f3, b5, or b6 unfortunately disrupt me, right? So let's see. Bishop to e4. Yeah, this was the move that I was just about to suggest, for the simple fact that you're putting the bishop first and
Mm-hmm.
then you go queen f3. So you're
And
hitting a
it also
pawn.
develops the bishop and attacks h7.
Yeah, if you try to hold on to the pawn, don't do that. After queen to f3,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way for you to stop rook to h1. So I think bishop to e4 is a very nice practical move.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice practical move.
Yeah, he did miss a few good opportunities, but that's why he went for something practical here. Like you just want to play the best move in the position, regardless of the time situation, regardless of all the temptations. What is the best move? Develop the last piece
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
attack.
And attack at the same time.
Yeah,
Look, Fedoseev understands that there's no time to defend that pawn on h7. I
no.
just need to get the queen out. Get the queen out as fast as possible with queen to g3. Another problem after queen g3 is that I'm really looking at ideas of queen to h1. I don't know if it's good or if it works very well, but queen to h1 followed by rook to g1. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still trying to trap that queen somehow. I'm still trying to get to that queen. And to be honest, I really like this battery, right? There's no more b6
It's
for
just
you.
so nice to play this position.
Yeah, queen to g3
Queen
is on the board.
g3, only move.
I'm expecting, I
He
think,
can take, or he can play, as you said, queen h1.
no, he's not going to go for the pawn. No way, no way, no. He's greedier than that. I think Hikaru is greedier than that. Queen to e2. He wants the queen. I'm telling you, Maria, he wants the queen. He wants to trap that queen. Let's see.
But he is also looking at e6 now that the queen is on e2. e6 becomes more dangerous.
Absolutely.
I already
Absolutely.
can see it happen. e6 takes, take on g7.
Give me one more
Bishop.
move.
Yeah,
E6 is one of them. King to
yeah.
B2 to connect the rooks together, and then rook to G1
Mm-hmm.
is uh, is GG.
It might end up in a mate.
Yes, I think he realizes. Fedoseev realizes, and I have to commend the way Hikaru played this one, because bishop to E4, it doesn't lose a tempo because you do create a threat, that is queen to F3. So you're forcing a reaction. You're forcing a defensive reaction with queen to G3. you're still not developing any of your pieces. You're so much behind in development. This one is, yeah, it's a sad looking position right now.
Yeah, this actually might be the fastest loss in this stage of the tournament so far. Second one is maybe Magnus losing a rook against Alireza, but that one was like 20 moves.
Yeah. E6. Do we expect king to b2 to just go for rook to g1? I think this might be,
So many options.
yeah, this might be looking good. Might be looking good.
You know what else I like? He can play knight, well, rook g1, then knight g5, knight f7.
Bishop
No, but
d4.
then the rook moves. I'm just trying to checkmate there. Knight d6, queen c4.
Hikaru is Hikaru is saying, I want that queen. I really want that queen. If you defend with b6, you defend the pawn on a7. Whoops. That's a queen.
Mm-hmm.
You go on h2. I take. I attack your rook on a8, and then I will follow it up with rook to h1. It's such a lonely queen out in the open, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
bishop.
need Alireza and Fabi to lose and Magnus to win. And then everything is becoming complicated in the standings.
And how are those games looking?
Well, Alireza is very unclear, as it would be expected against Javahir.
Yes.
Magnus is slightly pressing against Gukesh, very comfortable position. Levon might be looking at the first game where he has a chance to win. I like his activity.
Yeah.
And
And
as
he's
I
playing
said
against
that,
Nodirbek, but it might not matter.
no, it might not matter, but it will be nice for Levon to end on a high note.
Yes.
It won't matter for Levon, but it might matter a lot for Nodirbek.
Yes. Knight to h6. Obviously, the very easy approach right now would be to just simply take on a7. Take on a7, you're winning a pawn, the pawn back, the pawn that you are down at the moment, but you're also getting the exchange. So that's an easy way to get the material advantage. Or you can try to get greedy and start hunting for this queen with bishop to f2, or maybe, by the way, bishop to f2, wait. What do you do? You go queen to g4 now.
Yeah, you can play f2 first and then take on a7.
Bishop to f2, this is what he's doing. Queen to g4, forced move. Bishop to
Then
f3, very
bishop
nice.
f3, yeah.
Queen to f5 is a forced move. There's no other squares. And now you can just take a7. Wait, is he going to go for a draw?
No. No, it won't.
Fedoseev is like, no. You know what?
He
I'm
just
going to
wanted
play
to
for a
improve
win.
the bishop, I think.
Well, the bishop came from there.
Yeah, but yeah, why did he help the queen to
Well,
run away?
he was taunting him because Fedoseev
No,
does
I
not want
think
a
he
draw.
miscalculated something. He does look annoyed now. Yeah, because now queen a3 suddenly was the move.
I'm not so sure. I'm not
He
so
missed
sure.
queen a3. You cannot take on a7.
Oh my goodness. Take a
That's
look
why
at
he had
this.
to play b4.
Yeah. That's a nice
You
little
get too
trick.
greedy, yeah, you lose your bishop. Uh-oh.
That was a nice little trick. I mean, instead of bishop to e4, you can just take on a7
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
winning material. He could have taken on a7 for a very long time.
I guess his idea, yeah, was like he doesn't want to trade queens, but he wanted to bring the bishop back to e4, so h7 is hanging after taking the rook on b8. But then he missed queen f8, queen a3.
Bishop takes a7. Now we're going to see a trade. I have to take another pawn on h7. But aren't things getting a little bit complicated right now?
Rook b7 is also possible, no?
Rook to b7, my guess is that knight to g. Actually, this is a very nice little trick. You get checkmated almost on e7.
Yeah,
So
I
you're losing the
guess.
queen right now.
I
If you go
guess.
queen g7, I go knight e7. And you lose a queen. So rook b7, you cannot save the rook because you're taking away the square from the king.
The save is calculating something.
I think he missed queen takes h7. He missed the fact that this knight lands on e7 with some serious consequences. Yeah, what a crazy looking position, isn't it?
Yeah, I've seen the save winning games like this online, but not
Of course.
losing.
Bishop takes e5. Fair move. Now we're
Now we have to
almost by
take the
force
rook.
going into the endgame.
Yeah,
With
we have to take the. No, wait. Can we
we
take
have to
the...
start with knight g6. Start with
I
knight
suppose we
g6.
can. No, we can allow bishop e4 because. Ah, no, but then it's check on. Oof. You can even lose like this.
What would you do?
No, I wanted to play rook f1 and pin the bishop, but they actually can take on d2.
Okay, knight g6 is on the board, queen g7. It does feel like we're going straight into this endgame.
But then it's a bit of chances for black, maybe.
Absolutely, no. Obviously, Hikaru is still much better, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, it should be technically winning. But bishop pair, pawns
Which
are
pair
all
is
on the
strong?
same side.
Which pair is strong? And I do have outposts for my pieces, especially for the knight. This is something that I need. Uh, like, for example, if this pawn would be instead of a2 on e2, it would be much worse for black because then I would be able to attack this knight with the move e4. As that is not the case, the knight on f5 stays there forever.
Can he short castle? That's a good point. He actually can. I think
That would actually be unironically, one of the funniest moves of the event so far.
you
If
definitely need both hands to do that castle.
if the king goes and castles. Okay, now you cannot do it because of the rook on g8. But if you decide, while the king already looks castled, to castle on the king side, that would be very funny.
Very funny. Very unnecessary too.
Very so unnecessary. So unnecessary. Rook to g4, knight to d3. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, then he can hit 95, 97.
Knight to d3 does lose a pawn. Knight to d3, bishop takes d2, you take, and then I take on e7. So you do lose a pawn, but then maybe I can go rook h7 and collect on d7.
Yeah, but if white rook manages to infiltrate, it smells like a checkmate.
It does indeed. It
Those two
does
knights will
indeed.
not forgive anything. I think knight d3 is the easiest.
Knight d3. Let's see. Let's see what he's
Yeah,
going to go for.
knight d3.
I'm a little bit upset because there's no more, after bishop takes d2, there's no more castle on the king side.
Oh,
We cannot do the castle anymore. It's sad. Let's see if he goes for it.
but if he
This is,
castles, no, he cannot castle long. Wait, I'm
no,
confused.
the cat. This is how they started. This is the position they started with, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. But that's the wrong rook. This rook is short castle rook, not long castle.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because you can just
Exactly.
pass a move otherwise. Just say I just castled. Just put them.
Exactly.
Just touch them. But you
Just
cannot
touch.
because the other rook is from a long castle
Is
side.
the other rook that was supposed to, yeah, and the other rook I think was on h1 or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I'm getting confused. Bishop to d5. Okay, so Fedoseev preserves
No, he did
his two
castle then.
bishops.
Because that rook is from.
I'm going
Wait,
through the
so it
moves.
doesn't
He
matter.
has not castled.
Really?
No, he didn't castle.
Huh.
He
But
did
then
not
this rook
castle.
is from b1, b3? Ah, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're being told that Nodirbek actually drew his game.
Yeah, they did
So the
draw.
only way Fedoseev catches
It's
Nodirbek
by
is if
beating.
he wins.
Yeah.
Anything else is basically a loss right now. For Fedoseev, it means that he goes home alongside Levon.
Well, for Hikaru, the good thing is it doesn't really matter. This result doesn't affect anything, almost anything.
Yes.
Alireza is winning, looks like. Fabi looks so
Alireza
bad.
defeating Sindarov. So that means he's most likely going to
Still,
secure the top 3 position.
yeah. Although the position is still pretty wild.
Mm. Mm.
Nah, but Java here is also really long time. No, yeah, it seems like the table is not gonna shift at all. Which means... But who is getting fourth place then? It will be between...
It's very likely that Hikaru
It
is
will
going
be
to be getting
Hikaru, yeah? Unless he
is getting
loses.
fourth board.
Because if he loses,
Um,
then it's Magnus. Well,
well, Hikaru is very likely that he will win. Like he has great chances to win this one.
mm-hmm.
And then
Then he is fourth.
Magnus right now
Fourth
is
place.
still not winning, right, against Gukyash. Like Magnus seems to be drawing his game against Gukyash. At least that's the way it looks like right now.
Yeah, the problem is even if Hikaru tries to not to take fourth, then it's Magnus who is taking fourth, and both situations are bad.
We shall wait and see. We shall wait and see. But on the good side, it seems very likely that we will see an absolutely epic match between Magnus and Hikaru.
Yeah.
It's very likely right now in the quarterfinals. Bishop to f6. Fedoseev is still trying to swing this position
Oh,
in
wait
his
a
favor.
minute. Fabi just blundered, apparently. He's losing that pawn. Hmm.
It doesn't matter too much, right?
Well, it could mean that both Hikaru and Magnus will land in top 4.
Ooh.
That would be ideal.
And you think Fabi would be getting out of the top 4?
I think it's possible.
Interesting.
Because I think Hikaru has slightly better third tiebreak, and second is the same for them.
It's getting close. It's getting close. We shall wait and
Some
see.
chances. Some
We shall
chances.
wait and see. Anything can happen still, it seems like. Rook to h6. Attacking this bishop on f6. How do you do it? Do you go bishop to g5, try to preserve the two bishops, or do you go bishop takes e5? The problem with bishop g5 is that, in fact, after rook to h6, it doesn't seem like you have a way to protect dark square bishop. Bishop g5, rook to g6, and I'm forcing the trade of the rooks.
Did someone say tiebreaks? Well, tiebreaks is not always additional games. Tiebreaks is also numbers that come with performance that
Yeah,
are being compared. So don't get too excited.
yeah. A minute 17 for both players. Okay.
Yeah,
Bishop to
it's very
g5.
important to not to get self-defeated here with thinking, oh, I had such a wonderful position and I blew it off. But just continue grinding. It's still much
No,
better.
I think he knows he's much better. Um, I mean, he is at full exchange up. I don't think he's too worried about that. And by the way, 97 is a big threat right now.
True.
So I think it's time for Fedoseev to push the P. Go with f3. This is just losing right now. After rook to g1, this
Yeah, you can just play rook
officially is
g1.
just losing. You cannot push because of knight takes
F3 you
f3.
can take.
Yes, and that's it.
Hmm.
This is it.
Yeah, Fedoseev is making a face. He
I think
just saw it.
he just missed it.
Yeah.
Rook to
Yeah.
g1
Yeah.
immediately came. I mean, Hikaru doesn't
Yeah, I
miss
think
this
he's
type of
gonna
tactics.
resign. F3 and it's over.
That's GG. f3, knight takes f3. I pick up your pawn. I'm in exchange and a pawn up, and I'm simplifying the position enough for you to
He's looking at the
understand
clock.
it's over. He's looking at the clock, and Hikaru is looking at the chat.
Hi, Hikaru.
He's winking
He's looking
at
at
the
the clock
chat.
again. He's gonna give a hand now.
There's nothing to do. There is
No.
simply nothing to do.
Third look at the clock.
And in fact, knight bishop to f6, I can just simply take
Mm.
on g2. You take, I take on d7, and I pick up the
Mm-hmm.
bishop as well. He played bishop f6 indeed. Knight takes d7. Okay, I was expecting rook takes g2, but
No, it's same
this is
thing,
good
but he
enough.
keeps both rooks.
More than good enough, yes. And these pawns are absolutely the kryptonite of the bishop
Yeah.
on f6.
Okay, Fabi is not losing anymore.
Bishop to e7. Can I pin you? Probably.
Hikaru just had a quick glance at the safe. I think it's time to resign.
Yes. I mean,
That
rook f.
was like that
I can go
typical
rook
look.
f2 and just take on f4.
Is he
And that's going
going
to be.
to for a checkmate instead? B5 and double the rooks on the back rank?
Just take on g6, take on d6, take on f4. It's the game is over. They know it. They absolutely know it. a5. B takes a5, rook takes a5. Rook goes back behind the pawn. Next move. Is Hikaru on 3 out of 3 today?
3.5. He drew with Sindarov.
Oh, there are 4 games. So
Yeah.
3.5 out of 4. That's massive.
Yeah.
That is massive. And people will be seeing that. I don't know exactly which spot he's going to finish on, but people will be seeing that and will be like,
Which
okay,
means
I
he's
don't want
not
to play
getting
him.
picked.
Yeah, yeah. It's very
But in
likely that he's
fairness,
not going to
Magnus
get
is
picked.
also not in the best shape at all. Like he lost way more games than Hikaru.
He's not. Yeah, yeah, he's not.
So maybe getting the goat when he's married is not really a bad thing.
The married goat.
Yeah, married goat.
Is that worse? Is that a worse version?
Well, they say
You
you
think?
lose like 200 rating points if you get married.
But he hasn't lost any so far. So which one is it, Maria? And that's a win.
Well,
Fedoseev
he
is
didn't lose any
officially
so
out.
far because he did not play any classical events.
He did play some games in the Bundesliga, and I think he
Ah,
won some
okay.
rating
But
points.
Bundesliga is different, not super tournament.
But he won rating points. It's ridiculous. He's like 27-40, and he's winning rating points in Bundesliga. That shouldn't happen, especially when you're married. Especially when you're married. The guy skipped his honeymoon. He went to play some Bundesliga games.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, apparently on his on the first night as being married, he was playing Title Tuesday. Or was it Freestyle Friday or something?
No
I don't
comment. I,
remember.
I cannot comment on that. It's no. By the way, what's happening in this one? Fabi versus Keimer. I'm not sure if we should be looking at this one or which one should we. By the way,
Maybe
Magnus won.
Magnus? Oh, Magnus won.
Magnus won his game. Both Hikaru and Magnus win his game. Perhaps Ali Reza is the only one that can be caught. Ali Reza is winning. Ali Reza is winning against Sindarov. And in fact, the game is over. So this is the only game that's still pending. Fabiano versus Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
The idea being that if you go G2, I go 96 and I get a queen.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I'm not really sure what's happening. So knight to E6,
Yeah, it's this position is
knight to
beyond my
D6.
understanding.
You have to go 96, right? 96
Yep.
to try to cover the E8 square. King
But then,
D7.
well, he wants, is he defending? No, I don't think he's defending C7.
Oh, I see it. So knight G7, knight D6, I go E8. And then I go F7 and you cannot stop me.
Oh, that's beautiful. So what
So
do you
knight
will?
G7, you have to go rook to H8. Knight takes C7, rook to H8. I believe right now Keimer has some very serious chances of winning this one. Because how do you approach my pawns?
Mm. But is he taking the knight or is he pushing first?
He
I
says,
think
I'm
he's
going to
pushing,
push
right?
first. Yeah,
Pushing?
yeah, he pushed.
Takes.
I think Keimer has great chances of winning this.
And he can play knight e5 as well. Actually, did he have knight e5 immediately or is it too much?
A5. Good move by Fabi.
He has knight e5.
Try to exchange as many pawns on that side as possible. And Keimer should probably take this. If he wants to win, Keimer should take this. Take on A5, you take on A7, and hope that your pawns are faster. You do have the G pawn and the A pawn. Two runners. Fabi might be in trouble right now. Yeah, this is what looks like the best path forward.
I see where Kamara lost winning chances earlier.
He did. Mm.
He was winning. He shouldn't have pushed a second G pawn, but it's so very complicated to see.
I mean,
Basically, he
this
was.
is still for two
It's
results, in my
still,
opinion.
yeah, he still has chances.
He has some very decent chances. And to be honest, maybe even Fabi has some chances. I mean, King D7, I go C4, and then I start approaching your pawn. Is this so easy even for Keimer? Like maybe Fabi has some chances in this position as well. B6. If I get C4, C5, then I'm in really good shape. King D7. Have to go for C4 right now.
Wait, is it possible that Magnus and Hikaru still finishing top? No, only Fabi loses, right?
Again, this is a result. This is a position for three results right
Yeah,
now. Like any move can change the outcome of this game. And now
but
perhaps
then
not so much.
I'm actually not sure whom is it better to play, Fabi or Magnus?
King to C6. King A5, King B7. You have to defend against King A6. Otherwise, I'm starting to push my pawn. You don't want that.
No.
So go King B7.
Yeah, Hikaru should be joining, at least.
Oh,
We hope
Hikaru will
so.
definitely be joining
We
for an
hope
interview, I
so.
believe. Knight to E4. Do we go king a6? Knight to e4 seems like a soft move, but it is a draw. I don't think you cannot make progress. He's just going to
No.
go knight d6, knight b7, knight c5, knight b7 back. There's no way to make any
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah. Maybe just
They just agree to a
go
draw
for
after
it.
knight to e4. Okay, it's time to check the standings,
Yeah.
Maria. I don't know what the standings are. I have no idea whether the ones that we see on chess.com are the correct ones. We might need to wait
Yeah,
for the
they
official
won't.
confirmation.
Yeah, they won't include the tie breaks, but Alireza Alireza won against Jawahir, so this is correct. He's first. He's the first one to pick his opponent. Jawahir is second. Fabi is third. And Magnus won against Hikaru, so Magnus is fourth. Yeah. So he will be last to pick the opponent. So I wonder if we're finding out. I guess Hikaru is going to first know his opponent and then come on the show because they are going to do it right there on the stage.
Is that how they're doing it?
I think they are doing it immediately. The players will. I don't know. I don't remember if they announce it from the stage, but basically the arbiters will know immediately.
Do you think somebody will pick Hikaru before?
And
Let's try to make
No,
a prediction.
I cannot see any of them to picking Hikaru first.
Let's try to make a prediction. So
You have Gukesh. Alireza might just pick Gukesh.
Alireza might pick Gukesh, sure.
Or Nazarbek, but probably
Sindarov.
Gukesh.
Sindarov might be picking Vincent, right?
I don't think Sindarov will pick Nodirbek because their head-to-head is insane.
I would pick Vincent.
Yeah.
Like somebody will have to pick.
And
To be honest, if I'm
Fabi,
Alireza, I would pick Vincent.
yeah, and Fabi, I don't think Fabi will pick Hikaru because he lost to him here and he doesn't have a generally good score. So yeah, it does look like Magnus Hikaru.
It's looking very likely.
Fabi might pick Nodirbek.
Unless somebody believes that Nodirbek is more dangerous than Hikaru.
Nah, not likely.
Which,
I mean,
especially
Hikaru
in the
is
current shape,
champion and
not really sure.
no.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see how this one plays out. Let's see how this one plays out.
Yeah. I mean, Hikaru only lost one game. He's the most solid out of all of the players in the second half of the table.
So let's make our predictions. Alireza.
Alireza, I think Gukesh.
I say Alireza Vincent. I think Alireza will pick Vincent. Who do you think Sindarov is going to pick?
Well, if Vincent is taken, then Gukesh.
Okay.
If Gukesh is taken, then Vincent.
Got it. I think Sindarov, yes. Sindarov will pick Gukesh. That's my guess. And then who would you say Fabi is going to pick? Nodirbek or Hikaru?
Nodirbek, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think this, and then we're going to have Hikaru versus.
Oh, is it confirmed?
Magnus.
Okay, it's confirmed.
Is it confirmed?
Chat says it's confirmed. That Levi also bet on that, and he won. Let's see if it's on the. Oh, they have the table up. Head to head. Yep. Alireza Gukesh, Sindarov Abdusatorov, Caruana Kaimer. Huh. So no.
What?
Jawahir actually picked Nodirbek.
Is he crazy? He picked Nodirbek instead of Vincent? That's ballsy, if I can say that.
Maybe it's just a personal decision to prove something to his fans, his country. I don't know. Maybe there is some
Bro is taking a shot at that number one Uzbek spot. Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
Interesting.
The least expected pick. Yeah, I
I
was
did
so
not
sure he
expect
will
that.
avoid playing Nürnberg.
I did not expect that. This is a big development, I would
Because
say.
if he does win, he just makes a statement, I'm the best in the country.
Yes. Yes.
Unless I made a mistake with numbering. Chad, can you confirm if Sindarov was second to pick? So it's for sure that he picked. Yeah, maybe he just likes to play against Nürnberg. No, they will not play today. It will be tomorrow.
This is tomorrow. This is the end of stage one. We've finished stage one. We're starting stage two, which is classical freestyle chess, starting tomorrow for the remainder of the days in knockout format. So I believe these are the quarterfinals. We're going to get Hikaru versus Magnus. And Hikaru will be indeed coming for an interview shortly.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I would like to hear, maybe Hikaru will tell how did it go with picks, because if he was there, I'm sure Nurjabek would be surprised as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask him actually.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but
hopefully Hikaru knows the story.
yeah,
I think Hikaru
maybe
definitely
they
must
ask.
know
I
the
hope
story.
they asked him like, why? What's your reasoning? Unless he was like told, dude, okay, so you are invited last moment, but if you have a chance to play against your countryman, you have to make sure that only one of you goes through. But that would be kind of, I don't know, biased a little bit. Or he
Just a
was
little
told,
bit.
don't touch Keimer.
Just a little bit.
He's our guy. Don't touch Keimer.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Well, I see Sindarov is on. I don't know if we can listen to the broadcast. I do see Sindarov as being interviewed right now. So I don't know if that's an option for us to listen to that.
Do you? I see Alireza actually. Maybe it's a
Mm,
different broadcast.
Sindarov is on the chess.com broadcast. I'm looking at the chess.com broadcast, which is the official one, with David Howell and Dash, the esports commentator. But again, I don't know if that is an option to listen to that.
There are different broadcasts. Yeah, I see Anna Kramlik, for example, is showing Tanya,
Yes. Yes.
while Chess24 is showing Nicholas. Oh, they just wrote that Alireza is Vladimir Fedoseev. Okay. Yeah, it's two different broadcasts.
It is. It is. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Can we hear it?
Again, I don't know exactly what Sindarov is saying
He's
and why. I mean,
smiling.
this is the big reveal. Why did he choose his countryman? Why did he choose his countryman? I'm hearing something. I'm hearing something in my earpiece, so perhaps we will get it on the broadcast as well. Can listen to that.
From there, we can go ahead and pull up the standings as well and kind of get an overview of the field as a whole to see that Sindarov has finished in a solid second place, it looks like, at 6.5 points, my friend. Now that you take a look at this, I mean, come on, there's got to be a big smile on your face.
There is.
Yeah, but okay, it was just start of the tournament, I think. Yeah, you need to, okay, if you finished 8th or if you finished first, it doesn't matter. It just matter you will choose the opponents, but okay, every opponent was here. Amazing players, of course, yeah. I will try just play in classical my good chess, like I was usually playing.
And we're so excited to see that. But Javakir, just one last, because we were talking about your journey to this tournament, right? You lost this crazy Armageddon game to Fedosiev. I mean, that was sort of heartbreaking to watch. And of course, for Fedosiev, a great run in that one. And then at the last moment, you qualify for this tournament. What was your first reaction when you got that call from Jan that you made it? How did you feel about being in Weissenhaus?
Yeah, I was very happy when I saw the message from organizers. I was in holidays in Dubai, so before I was playing in Bundesliga, Germany against St. Pauli. I meet Mr. Jan, Mr. Sebastian, organizer. Just they told me, yeah, hello, we are organizers this tournament. Yeah, I'm of course I know them. And then, okay, I think maybe they will do for me something. Yeah, okay. They didn't tell me anything, so okay. After 3 days, yeah, Mr. Sebastian, I think, was write me and told we have free place in freestyle chess. You want to enjoy? Do you want to play? Yeah. Yeah, I was a little bit shocked. So then I called to my coach. Yeah, so they are inviting me. So he told, yeah. Very good news. Start prepare to this tournament. Yeah, and then we do some plans for this tournament.
Well, once again, Javakir, congratulations on an incredible group stage performance. We wish you the best of luck tomorrow in the quarterfinals. And for now, we'll let you go. Enjoy everything that is so wonderful about this Weissenhaus resort.
Yeah, sure. It was here. It's very beautiful. I will take a rest and prepare for my tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
All
Best
the
of luck,
best.
my friend. And as you make your way out, we will go ahead and
we
ask
are
the viewers.
back. You heard from Sindarov there. I still did not get why he chose his countryman. Did you catch that, Maria,
I
or
didn't
he
catch it.
just didn't
Maybe
speak about it?
maybe Chad can help us. But maybe he just knows him the most, so he knows how
It
to
seems like they
prepare.
didn't ask him about the choice. At least that's what the chat is
Oh.
saying. Which
So maybe it's only the first place can choose, or maybe there is no choice. You just go automatically 8, 7, 6, like that.
no chance, no way, no way. At least that's my guess. I mean, it's I hope I'm right on that, but
The pairings released that aren't real. What? But everybody is talking about Hikaru versus Magnus. Tanya said Hikaru Magnus. It's
well, they believe that Hikaru and Magnus might be slated against each other just for the simple fact that they will choose like that. And maybe the pairings are not yet certified.
That's a bit strange. Preparing graphics for something that is not happening.
Or is it home to?
They want drama. They're stirring drama already. Maybe it is just automatic. First 8, second.
No, I don't
7.
think so. I don't think so. I do not think so. But look, Hikaru is coming. It is confirmed that Hikaru will be joining us on stream in just a few seconds, maybe a couple of minutes. But I'm sure he will be able to tell us everything about what's happening in Weissenhaus and why we're seeing the pairings that we're seeing and whether they are confirmed or not.
Yeah, I mean, Hikaru most likely is playing Magnus, whether Javakir is speaking Netherbeck or not.
That one is almost
like
almost
99%.
guaranteed. That one is almost guaranteed, unless
And
something
it would have
huge
happened
happens.
whether Hikaru is 4th or 5th and Magnus 5th or 4th. It's
Yes.
inevitable.
Yes.
I know we all wanted a final between them, but this will be our own final.
That is correct. That is correct. Scripted pairing.
Scripted, yeah. Paid actors.
Everything is scripted. Everything is scripted. Yeah. What did you think of the first couple of days, Maria?
Is he coming? Oh, there he is.
I think he's coming.
How are you guys doing?
Hi.
Hi, Hikaru.
We're
Congratulations.
hyped. Great games.
Relatively. It's all relative, I guess you could say.
Absolutely. Now let's get straight into exactly what's happening because we're a bit confused. Do you know the pairings for tomorrow, or
For
those
tomorrow,
have
yeah.
not been announced?
I mean, first things first. Obviously, it's my own fault because I missed the technical meeting. I was very tired and I fell asleep and took a nap. So that's the first thing. So I'm the worst person to ask that question of. I've been told that I play Magnus, but I'm not actually sure because I thought the players get to pick and choose. Players get to pick and choose the number. So I'm honestly not sure. I have no idea who I play. But my guess is I play Magnus, but your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, so basically, they kind of prepare the graphics, but that graphics looks like automatically first place eights, second seventh, and so on. We're just confused. Why would Javahir pick Noderbeck when he can pick Vincent, for
Well, I mean,
example?
the first thing is I know for sure there's some number of picking. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And my I finished what, fourth or not?
Yeah, no, you're fifth
Fifth,
and Magnus
fifth.
is fourth. So you're probably playing each other.
Yeah, I mean the only way I don't play is if one of them picks me. Because I
Which
think
is
my
probably
understanding is 1 through 4 get to my
yes,
understanding is 1 through 4
yes,
get to pick.
yeah.
That's what I think. So I'm gonna assume that none of them are gonna pick me, but I don't actually know. Like I also, on the other hand, wouldn't be shocked if Fabiano or Ali Reza pick me. So it's not clear cut. But that being said, I could be wrong. I mean, it could just be a forced pairing regardless. So I'm really not sure.
We were thinking that probably Ali Reza will be picking between Gukesh and Keimer.
Mm-hmm.
The same for
Well, okay.
Sindarov.
Let me see what the standings are. Let me see. Okay,
Yeah, first is
so
Alireza.
I'm fifth or not
You're
though?
fifth. Yeah, it's a direct encounter as the first tiebreaker.
Ah, that's the first tiebreaker. Okay, I wasn't sure what the first tiebreaker was. Okay, so then yeah. Okay, so Ali Reza has the choice of the top 8. I mean. Well, I
Gukesh.
mean, I don't know. I don't know. I assume Ali Reza is not going to pick Gukesh actually. Like that. That's the
Really?
funny thing. That's the funny thing. Like you know, you think it's obvious, but I'm not so sure that. I mean, I don't know.
I'm,
They haven't picked yet, so I should probably
I'm
not say a
thinking
whole
Keimer.
lot. But
I think Keimer.
Keimer is probably, yeah.
I mean, if you were to ask me though, I don't think it's clear cut. I think that I think you're right. So first is Ali Reza, right? 'Cause he won the direct encounter against Sindarov. So my guess is that Ali Reza will pick Vincent. I think Vincent objectively is the best player to pick out of this group. So I'm gonna assume that Ali Reza picks Vincent. Sindarov is I don't know who Sindarov's gonna pick actually, because he probably doesn't want to pick his countryman Noderbeck.
No,
He probably
no,
doesn't want to pick me, and he probably doesn't
no,
want to pick Gukesh either.
no.
So I'm not actually sure that it's as clear cut as people think it is. Yeah, I'm not actually sure. Uh, yeah, it's not clear cut. It's not clear cut at the end of the day. It really isn't. I mean, I think Ali Reza will pick Vincent, and then after that, it's very. I think it's anybody's guess what happens, because I would not be shocked if Fabiano or Ali Reza pick me. I would not be shocked at all. So
Do you know when the dinner is? We're being told that
I mean,
perhaps
dinner's at 7 o'clock, but I mean, it's kind of silly to. I guess
Somebody said desserts that people will be choosing during dessert.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be too negative or critical, but I think I don't think it's clear cut. Assuming that I'm right and the top 4 players get to pick who they play, not top 4, top 3 basically get to pick. I'm not so sure that that Fabian or Ali Reza aren't going to pick me. I would not be shocked if I end up playing someone who's not named Magnus Carlsen.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Now let's talk about the games today because obviously this was
also, I just want to say one
day.
last point for anybody who's asking. I mean,
Yes.
one other thing that I do want to state very clearly is it's pretty obvious to me that Gukesh gets decent positions, but he doesn't have the natural skills that are required to be very good at blitz currently. So that's why I think that it's not so obvious in terms of the choice picking, just because Gukesh in a slower format, I think he's going to look or be much more formidable of an opponent than he would be in Rapid or Blitz. So that's why I don't think it's so clear cut that that I'm going to play Magnus. That specific reason is that I don't think people should sleep on how much better Gukesh could play in Classical.
That is a very good point. That is a very good
yeah,
point.
that's a great point.
I don't think too much about it. And obviously, I would say I will add somehow Nodirbek has been a bit of a surprise, the fact that he hasn't had better results in this tournament. Still made it, obviously, but it was a bit shaky. You have been seeing him for the last few days. What do you feel hasn't worked that well for him?
I mean, honestly, after I played him, I haven't really been paying close attention because really for me, since I've struggled in this event, I haven't really had the liberty to just be able to coast, look at the standings, look at the games, and be very chill about it. At least not until I beat Fabiano today. So, for me, I mean, I'm not quite sure what's going on, but my general impression is I feel like he's pressing too hard. His expectations are a little bit too high. So that would be my guess, but I haven't really looked closely at what's been going on for him.
Yeah,
That's what
Maria?
I'd say. I wasn't sure. Did my internet die, or you guys just?
No. I was waiting to see whether Maria has any questions on this one. But yeah, let's catch up with your play because obviously it was much better than the first day.
I mean, you could say
It
that,
felt
but I mean,
everything was working for you.
maybe, although to be fair, I mean, I ended up in this awkward situation the first game. So like I said, I missed the technical meeting. So I offered a draw to Sindarov in the first game before move 40. I didn't realize there was a 40 move no draw rule. And that was already the first little bit of chaos today because I mean I think it's kind of stupid to have a 40 move no draw rule when you're playing like 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I mean nobody's even thinking about that. But that game was very choppy, and once that game ended in a draw, I think that really stabilized me. And the last 3 games were very smooth from the standpoint that I didn't really feel like the games were too imbalanced. I mean, the game against Fabiano, I think I made a little bit of a mistake in the middle game, and I could have been in trouble. But he didn't find the best moves. Then once I got to the end game, it was, I mean, I made it messy even there, but it wasn't really in doubt, I guess you could say. And the last 2 games were also very, very smooth. So. The game against Fabiano, once I won that game, I knew that I would be in the top 8, and then I think it was much easier to relax and just play the positions.
Yeah, fair. What was your favorite game today?
I mean, my favorite game probably. I mean, the game against Fedoseev was I mean, I definitely misplayed it a little bit, but I would say that I can't really pick that game just because it was obvious that Fedoseev from the get-go, he wanted to go all in to try and win. So he just played a crazy opening, and I mean, I suspect that I should have been winning like around like move 7 or 8, but I can't say that one just because it didn't really feel like a great game. It felt like one side had to win and went crazy and just lost. The game against Fabiano.
Just a question about the game against Fedoseev. Did
Yeah.
you guys analyze this type of position, and did you see this tactical motive with e4?
No, of course not, because well, I mean, one funny thing is actually if you look at the last game, not the last game, sorry, was it the second? So first things first, I think it was was it the second to last round where we looked at a specific move, which I think was e4. Can you go to round 9 just so I can see the position?
Yes, this is round 9.
No, round 8. I mean round 8, second to last round. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it was this position. Is this round 8? Yeah, this is round 8. And it was funny because this position, Fabiano, Alirez, and I, we were really concerned. I think about we were really concerned about e4. We didn't feel that there was a good reply for black. And then in the games, everybody played like g4 or f4, which was kind of funny. Like we didn't have a good solution to e4, and then nobody played e4, which was kind of funny because one of those situations where it's very clear the players on one side analyze one move, and then on the other side they analyze a different move. Like from the black side, Fabi, Alirez, and I were really worried about e4 with white, and then everyone played g4 f4.
What's
so
the reason?
Kind of funny.
Why
Yeah,
e4
3
was
players
so
played
threatening?
g4, 1 player played g3, and
one played
only
f4,
Vincent
right?
played was it f3?
Yeah.
Why were you guys worried about e4 if you just, let's say, go symmetrical with e5?
We were worried about e4, e5, f4.
f4.
And we thought white was just better.
Yeah. And pawn sacrifice?
Yeah,
After
rook takes
he takes
f4. Rook
f4?
takes f4. Yeah.
No g3. Okay.
Just rook takes f4. No, we thought g5, rook f1, queen b2, knight b3, and white had great compensation, but clearly we suck at chess, apparently. Black is... Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Queen g7, and you pretend that you're better, even though...
This looks very fishy for black.
I mean, it's computers. What do you expect? Computers.
At first glance, I mean, bishop d4, knight c3, knight d5. It looks...
Yeah, I mean, it's all... Yeah, it's all weird, but anyway, so you know, I think I think if I had to pick a game, the game against Vincent was very steady. He obviously blundered in the middle game when he allowed me to sack the rook with rook takes f4. But this game was a game that I thought was there was no drama. I was never in trouble. It felt like one of those smooth kind of wins. So I thought probably this was objectively the best game. It's either this or the game against Fabiano.
Yeah, we can go against we can go and check the game against Fabiano because that felt like the one that was the most similar to classical chess. It felt like you guys got somewhat of a natural
Well, I mean, I think
position
the
out
problem was
of the
at
opening.
some point, I think we wanted to basically, at some point, I was unhappy with the opening. I was ready to draw. Also, this is a good example because we didn't look at c6. When I was analyzing, I forget it was Levon or whomever, we looked at c4, c5, and we didn't look at c6. And then Fabiano played c6, and I already wasn't sure what to do. And I think bishop c2 was a mistake. I think I should have probably played something like d4 or something. I think putting bishop on c2 right away was premature, but I think I was fine in this game. I mean, you probably could tell when I played f4 on move 7 or 8, whatever it was. I mean, already here I was just happy to draw the game. Like my goal was draw the game, just make sure I finished top 8. And at some point I thought Fabiano got ambitious, which I was a little bit surprised by. But on the other hand, he knew he finished top 8, so it's not shocking. But yeah, somewhere around here I thought I was fine, and then I misplayed it. Yeah, I played rook c1, which is probably a bad move, but keep going. Yeah, and right here, I mean, I should just be better. After bishop a4, queen d5, bishop d1, I think I'm just a little bit better, but then I made a bad move. He played what, rook b8? Yep, keep going. Right, I think, right, go back. Yeah, go back one move. I think after rook b8, if I go queen c2 right away, I should just be better. I think that's what I thought. Just queen c2, and I think I'm just better. Doesn't mean like I'm winning or anything, but I thought I was better.
Yeah.
And then after he went queen e6, I got low on time, and it got very tricky. Like right around here, what did I play?
Rook e1.
Yeah, which is obviously a bad move. And then he played, what did you go? Yeah, bishop b7. Already here after bishop b7, I thought I was in some trouble, perhaps. But then what did I do? I played takes, queen c2, right? Is that what I did?
By the way, we are just getting confirmation that there's no picking.
According to regulations. But I just got confirmation from the site that there will be picking right before dessert. So
the
I'm
official
really
regulations
confused.
say that there's
I'm
no
really
picking?
confused.
I mean,
And the
again, I
organizers
mean,
are saying no.
to be fair, I missed the technical meeting, but there was definitely discussion about this. That much was clear. There was some discussion about because Judith mentioned this to me at dinner the first night. She said something about like you pick your number. It was originally you pick your number and the color, and I thought that they got rid of one. Like they got rid of the color, but you still picked your number.
Okay. But then why the regulations say that it's automatically one against
Like I said,
three?
I missed the meeting. I'm not a professional chess player, so
Very
I
strange.
can't comment.
So you went back to your hotel room and fell asleep, yeah?
I mean, I was very jet lagged. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't go to the meeting, so I can't really tell you what the answer is. That's my own fault since I'm not a pro, but it is what it is. So I think that I mean, based on what Judith said to me, Judith Polgar, I'm gonna assume that the players do pick their numbers and they change that at the technical meeting. So I mean, let me see. I think I got an email with the regulations. Let me see. Let me open this PDF. Okay, technical meeting, A, B, C, D. Okay, technical
I
information.
guess by dessert you definitely will know for sure.
Okay. 1 through 8. Okay. Bum 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 bum. Okay, I see the pairings, ties. Okay, exceptions, direct and counter. Blah blah blah. Okay.
So someone's saying
The players ranked first, second, and third after the round robin tournament will choose their opponents for the quarterfinals from the players ranked 5th to 8th. So yes, there is picking. Yes, just to be clear, that is the updated. I mean, they did send me the PDF. So yes, there is going to be some form of picking for the top 3 players. So basically, if the top 3 players don't pick me, then Magnus plays me.
Yeah.
But there you guys go. So you heard. So there is going to be an actual selection of the players.
So apparently there was a vote during technical meeting to abolish the regulations clause and to have picking. So you missed the voting. I don't know if your vote would have been decisive or not, but
I mean, I have no problem with it. I mean, I don't really care either way.
it looks like you're getting Magnus either way. But
no, but like I said, I'm not though. If the top 3 pick, like I said, there's no guarantee that someone's not going to be afraid of playing Gukesh. for example.
But
It's not guaranteed.
whom would you prefer to play out of the four?
Like I mean, it could have an impact on who I play. But I will say, and I did say this in an interview with David from Take. I mean, the one thing I did say is, to me, looking at all the players, and Christian could probably comment on this, but my general view was that Fabiano is probably the person who's put in the most work into Fischer Random Chess. You can take it for what you will. Maybe you want to comment, Christian, or not. But my general view of the players here is that Fabiano is the one who's probably spent the most time looking at random positions.
I would say I know that he's played a little bit, but I don't think he's necessarily done any specific work outside of just playing blitz games, and I think that's
okay. So then Fabiano is doing his best Levon impersonation here, then, because he's definitely in analysis when we looking at stuff. He's been giving off the vibes like he understands the positions a lot. It's very Levon style, but anyway, I don't know. But
I've heard something from Magnus, and maybe you can comment on that as well. He was talking about looking at some sort of a graphic, like perhaps his second PH was preparing some sort of graphics based on where the pieces land, what he should be doing. Like he wasn't looking at each position individually, but rather he was just looking at graphs of potential placement and potential plans based on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very reasonable. Like if you get knights in the corner, for example, or bishops in the corner, like A1 and H1, like the last game, it's very reasonable, I guess you could say, to look at it from that standpoint. But also, it's a matter of whether that actually helps or doesn't help. Because I think in my view, every position is very unique, and I think there's so many different possibilities in every position for your opponent. Like for example, because the time format was so short here, I think there are a lot of symmetrical openings, but I think in classical, you're going to see players play things that are not completely symmetrical. There's much more of an opportunity to be broader. So I don't know if it really helps or doesn't help, but who knows?
How much time do you get in between when you find out what position you're going to play and the starting time?
Well, I mean, I've never played classical, so I have no idea. I did play, it was 45-minute games in Iceland. And for that, I think we had about 20 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Here, it was way too short. It was only 10 minutes. So I swear by the time we kind of had some idea of what we were doing, like move 2 or 3, then you couldn't look at other moves because they were already ready to start the game. So I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely fun to play. I think the fact that I'll finally be able to use my brain instead of having to make quick decisions will be quite nice, because I don't think I made a lot of good decisions for the majority of these first 9 games. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Maria.
Yeah, amazing run again, Hikaru. I don't think Fabi or Alireza is gonna pick you, because today's games show you are a really tough opponent. So my bet is against Magnus, but
we'll see.
yeah,
We'll see.
We'll see.
Well, Hikaru, I believe you probably will find out, and everybody will during the dinner. So I'll let you get ready for that. Feel free to sign us off.
Yeah, all right. Hope you guys enjoy the show today. I'm gonna go do a recap. I'll figure out which games to cover, and I guess in a couple of hours I'll find out who I'm playing at the dinner or something like that.
Yeah,
so who
enjoy
knows?
your dinner.
That's what it is. All right, I'll see you guys. Have a good one, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.